that. Let's try that right now. Is that much better? It's always something interesting, folks. We are at the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. Good afternoon. It's John Phillips, and we are Steel City Sunday. 3 hours of live Steelers pregame coverage as the Black and Gold at 4-1 are in Cincinnati to take on the 2-4 Bengals. Big division game. A Steelers victory opens up a 3.5 game lead in the division. Does not clinch anything, of course, as we are in the middle of October, but when you have a 3.5 game lead in mid-October in your division, you are cruising along at a high altitude. We will see how things play out. We're going to talk about it over the next 3 hours. We have a jam-packed show for you, and I want to run down our lineup before we get to our first guest because he's just jumping at the bit. We've got John Fedko just moments away. John Fedko, just a few minutes from joining us. He's going to lead off our show this evening as we are broadcasting again live on X, Facebook, and YouTube. We'll be on TikTok in our next broadcast, I will tell you that, and we may be on Instagram finally as well at that point in time. We're working through those things. But John Fedko, just minutes away, we're going to get his thoughts on the Steelers and Bengals before the game. At 5:15, Todd Haley officially joining our show on a regular basis. He is now a regular member of Steel City Sunday, the former Kansas City Chiefs head coach, former offensive coordinator of both the Steelers and Cleveland Browns, in addition to the Arizona Cardinals. Upper St. Clair graduate, by the way. Haley's Huddle debuts at 5:15 p.m. this afternoon. Behind Enemy Lines is at 5:30, where we try to feature some voice from the opposing team. I found a guy by the name of Bengal Jim Foster. He's a podcaster. He runs what he says is the longest running tailgate in America. Longest running tailgate in America. I'll let him explain in a few minutes. He's got a huge social media following on X, on Facebook, on Instagram. We're going to talk with Bengal Jim Foster. He runs a tailgate that has 3,000 to 4,000 people at it. He raises a ton of money for charity. Great guy. We're going to talk to Bengal Jim at 5:30 and Behind Enemy Lines. 5:45 p.m., Mike Ostie in the mic drop. We love Mike, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites. He's, of course, a national writer for Yardbarker and can be heard on Sirius XM's and radio. At 6 o'clock, open segment. We'll bring Bill Akins in, our show executive producer. At 6:15 p.m., our Steeler Nation Spotlight. Of course, we work with SteelerNation.com. They're great people. Anthony Halkeas, the second lead writer for Steeler Nation, covering the Pittsburgh Steelers, joins us. He's now part of our regular lineup every single week. At 6:30, Jerry DePaul is going to check in. Of course, Jerry and John Fedko are a part of our post-game coverage. Tonight, 1 hour of post-game. As soon as the game is over, just 1 hour of post-game. Jerry DePaula and John Fedko will be anchoring that with me. At 6:45 p.m., Consigs picks our weekly look at the betting lines and the props, where we try to bring you in professional people, whether they're professional gamblers, whether they've got professional service, or former odds makers. I hope you're going to love this guy because when I was in Mississippi a few weeks ago, he came into my X timeline, and he has just been such a great follow. Carl Jick Jack Johnson, former odds maker at the Mirage in Las Vegas, Nevada. He's retired. He lives in Biloxi, Mississippi. He's going to join us for Consigs picks at 6:45. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll have Paul Zeiss of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, like we always do, in the third hour when the Steelers are on the road. Paul will join us for about 45 minutes to talk about the game. With that in mind, let's bring in the greatest of all time, the best that ever lived. And I can't just tell you, I'm so excited that we have John Fedko on our show. John Fedko joining us live from his palatial digs somewhere here in the north of Pittsburgh. How you doing, John?
I am. I'm in the room with all my vinyl record collection in the back, and just I love Thursday night football. It's great. So looking forward to a night of watching the Steelers. You know, I've already said they're going to the Super Bowl if all things were equal right now, you know, if everything was equal, the season ended today. When I say the season ended today, no one else gets hurt on any team, the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl, and they're doing it by default. They're going to go to the Super Bowl, Billy, because Johnny, because they're in the worst division I can remember. And this is an unbelievable. If you'd have talked to me in the first week of August, I'd have told you there's a 5% chance the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. I would say it's 90 today. Now that's everything remaining the same. Okay. And the only reason I say that is not because the Steelers are a great team. They are not a great team. But there isn't any great team in the AFC, John. They're just
not right now.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, not right now.
And you look at these crazy power rankings, like Brady had one out and didn't put the Steelers in the top 10, and I'm okay with that because there's no great team. And I would actually agree with Brady that the best team in the AFC probably is the Indianapolis Colts. But here's the thing with the Indianapolis Colts. You can beat the Indianapolis Colts at their place, and the Steelers can definitely beat them here. And by the way, we're going to find out in a couple weeks because right after Green Bay, the Steelers get the Colts, and they get them here. And Pat, that, my friend, right now looks like the game of the year in the NFL. And if you'd have told me that was the game of the year in August, I'd have said you were crazy. Not as crazy as Andrew Filipponi, by the way. I've got to read this. I'm not a Steeler fan. I covered the team too long to be a fan of those clowns.
Right.
So I'm rooting for the Bengals, and here's why. Listen to what Filipponi tweeted. You just don't do this. I mean, these crazy kids, you know what I mean? I gotta read this. Filipponi is on the fan, and he's he's a little out there. Listen to what he tweeted. There's no way the Steelers lose tonight. In fact, I'll get my nipples pierced with no numbing agents if they lose to the Bengals. That's crazy. Now Filipponi knows this but does he know Mike Tomlin's record on the road on Thursday night games? I mean, I just said to the Steelers go to the Super Bowl, but the way they can blow this entire season is because they have a mediocre at best head coach in Mike Tomlin. He should have been fired a long time ago, and he is the one guy that can blow this. And if you look at his record on Thursday Night Football on road games, it's horrific. I mean, it's a complete joke. And his record on Thursday night in the division is a complete joke. So I had to cover this guy blowing games on Thursday night. So I've been there, Filipponi. You do not want to tweet what you tweeted. You're putting your hands, you're going to put that in charge of Mike Tomlin. Good luck. Okay? So look, it could all explode tonight, and trust me, if it does, we'll be doing an hour post game, and we'll be talking about Mike Tomlin blowing this game because he's a terrible game manager. I can see him blowing a close game in the last 2 minutes. It's happened all the time. But if nobody gets hurt, he's going to win the division by default. You could coach this team to a division title. This is a gimme putt, John.
Yeah,
they're not going to lose the division game. They're not going to lose the division because the division is horrific. Baltimore's defense is a joke, led by their joke of a defensive coordinator, Zach Orr. That's the problem. Their defensive coordinator is a complete joke there. Okay, Cincinnati without Joe Burrow is just they have no shot. And Flacco's a nice upgrade to what they had, and he's going to make it an interesting game, maybe for a half. He's great at getting rid of the ball. He had no picks last week, which was amazing to come into an organization and play a game like that and have no picks. And that's the key. The number one stat, John, the number one stat I'm looking at is turnovers. Okay? It's whoever wins the turnover battle, it'll be the Steelers, is going to win this game. And the Steelers are, as Tomlin calls them, splash play. That's the kind of defense they are. But with that offensive line, which is not very good for Cincinnati, and Flacco now only his second game. And by the way, Deshaun Elliott's going to play, it looks like. Okay, whatever was going on there. If you heard that or not, but right. He wasn't personal, whatever that is. Apparently, he's there in the stadium and he's going to play. And I thought Deshaun Elliott, I don't care what the PG's grading. He graded him like a below average. Are you kidding me? The guy had 12 tackles last game, and I know he watches the game, so he's watching this stuff.
You talking about Ray Fittipaldo?
Whoever grades the Steelers.
Yeah, it's Fittipaldo at the PG.
Okay, well, he said Deshaun Elliott was like a minus, which is crazy. I thought Deshaun Elliott had a really good game. He had that crazy, the penalty that drives me nuts, where they gave him 15 yards for just hitting a guy. but they need Deshaun Elliott was going to be a big loss because look, the Bengals do have two great receivers, but they need a guy to throw the ball to those guys. They do have two great receivers, but I mean, I like the Steelers by 14 in this game, maybe close for a half, but I like the Steelers, and so unfortunately for us. Filipponi's not going to have to get that done.
Just for the record, I think some people, if you know me, I've been friends with him for 15 years. I was texting him a little while ago, listening to his show, coming into here. I didn't hear that part though. He was at.
That's great. You do not give that kind of power to Mike Tomlin.
Yeah,
that's insanity. Okay, that is insanity. I did I'm on Oneberg.
Yes.
And listen, people, and I just did a top 5 all-time WPIAL coaches, which is really, I like doing those top 5 things. I covered high school football since '87. So top 5, what I think are the top 5 coaches in the history that I saw. Okay?
Who are they? I got to hear this now.
I started out by saying, and I told Brian Crothers, don't edit this out, please, because I truly believe it. All 5 of these guys are 5-time better coaches than Cowher, who was completely overrated, and 10 times better than Tomlin. All 5 of them, the guys that I picked as 5, they all, because great coaches, and Todd Haley I know would back me up on this. Great coaches like the ones I picked for my top 5 can coach at any level. They can coach at college, different system, a different situation, and they can coach at the pros, especially the pros. So everybody remembers Notre Dame in the mid-'80s hiring some high school coach, Jerry Fowles. So that was a huge mistake. That guy never should have been hired. But you put a guy, my number 1 guy, I'll release it now, Jim Render's a no-brainer. Jim Render's one of the greatest coaches I've ever seen. You put the Steelers in the hands of Jim Render, and they're winning at least 3 more Super Bowls. They're winning at least 3, okay? And remember, Render was with Upper City. He was like a 49-year head coaching career.
He's 406.
So he could have rode with them from the 90s all the way to a year ago or 2 years ago. Jim Render is one. I don't care. You know what? This is where these elites and some of these media people they just can't get out of their heads. I don't care that he was coaching high school football. Couple things. Maybe Render wanted to coach high school football. Maybe that's what he wanted to do. It's not Render's fault that the Steelers were morons or that pro football people are morons and look at that guy. Hey, he's a high school football coach. You know what? I watched the Steeler coaches blow so many games. Don't tell me about Jim Render not being able to coach in the NFL. Because right now, the NFL, the guy with the Jets is a complete joke. Now, I understand he went into a program that's been completely decimated. But you can tell some of these guys, the guy in Miami, how about the guy? These guys are just way over their head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're talking about Aaron Glenn in New York. He's struggling. There's no question about it.
But anyway, we get off. The point is that Mike Tomlin could blow this. He could blow it. So tune into the post-game show. I mean, there's no guarantees with him at coach. But listen, Johnny. The game, the season's coming down to 4 games, and I have the Steelers winning 3 of the 4. The division's a done deal. Again, Dottie football at 94.37, the fan can coach the Steelers to the division title. I'm dead serious. I mean, anybody that just knows anything about football, the division's a gimme. It's 8-0, and if it's not 8-0, Tomlin should be fired. Will he be? No, but he should be. Okay. If he doesn't go 8-0 in the division, he should be fired. All right. The 4 big games, Green Bay coming up next week.
Yes.
But it's here. It's here at Heinz Field.
That's right.
Obviously, the biggest game of the year, I think. Indianapolis here for home field advantage. Okay.
Okay.
And then you're going to the Chargers. Now, the thing about the Chargers is, Johnny, that's a home game for the Steelers.
It is.
The whole stadium is going to be Steeler fans.
It is.
So the Steelers are going to win that game. It's a home game.
It is.
The only game they'll lose is at Detroit. They got Detroit on the road late in the season, and they'll probably lose that game, and it's an NFC game, so it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter, Johnny. So because of and they got Buffalo. They do have Buffalo. I left Buffalo off.
I just wanted to bring them up.
But I'm telling you, Buffalo is a joke. Their defense is a joke with a capital J. So So I like the Steelers in that game. And I'm not even putting Buffalo. I don't put Buffalo in those other four. I think Buffalo is. And I was on the Buffalo train too. They have the best quarterback in the league. That I'll give them that, and that guy will keep him in every game.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
Pathetic. Yeah, he's great.
They're terrible. This is John Fedko, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we're so happy to have him. John will be joining us post-game immediately following Steelers and Bengals. John, you're the best. We'll talk to you as soon as the game ends.
John will say it's going to be a big post-game with Jerry DePaula because he always calms me down.
He does. That's what he's there for.
Jerry DePaula is the voice of reason. I'm insane. Nothing's changed since I was on Channel 11. I'm completely nuts. Or somebody said on Facebook, and I agree with them, you're completely washed up. Completely agree. I can't argue with that. My wife said I need Botox. I can't. Well, I am one. I'm old. I'm 65, man.
You don't look a day over 40. I'm not even kidding. You look like when I worked with you 25 years ago, John.
Well, Just for Men is tremendous. We got to get them as a sponsor.
I'm working on it. I got many hats. I got to keep electricians working.
Okay, go. I'll see you. Bye.
Bye. John Fedko, everybody, the best. Joining our post-game show tonight, and of course, every post-game show with Jerry DePaula here on Steel City Sunday. Okay, with that, is Todd Haley available? We got Haley's Huddle coming up next. Maybe the most polarizing guy to ever walk into Acrisure Stadium or Heinz Field. How you doing, Todd?
I'm doing great, John. You guys are fired up. I hear the energy coming out of you too.
Well, and you probably remember Fedko from his time here on television. He's just he's such a ball of fire, and and we're blessed to have him. We're blessed to have you and all these people that are, helping us in our first year. It's great, and again, to have a coach's perspective is really unique, and that's one of the things that I think is great about you. And that's why I like talking with you, because you have not only do you have a great sense of humor about it, you keep these things in perspective. You talked about how your father kind of laid that foundation for you when he was at the Steelers, and you have to have an incredible thick skin. You have to be able to tune things out, because there is a lot of white noise out there, and it just how society is, unfortunately. But thanks for joining us. RJ Generosky checking in via YouTube, saying here we go. And good to see Todd, and we're excited to have you on the show here. So let's talk a little bit about this team here, 4-1. Aaron Rodgers continues to just do it in such an efficient manner. As somebody who's worked with quarterbacks, can you talk about what you've seen from him through 5 games and why his leadership is probably the biggest reason this team is 4-1?
Yeah, before I get to Aaron, let me just I heard John give a shout-out to Coach Render down in Upper St. Clair, so I got to give a shout-out to my guy. We became very close through the years, even though he tried to change my throwing motion when I was a 9th grader. But, Aaron, what you get from him at the line of scrimmage, in and out of the huddle, the awareness, the cadence he's able to use, and it appears the rest of the Steelers offense has picked that up, because it's not easy. It takes a lot of concentration, a lot of discipline, but he's going to push the limits of how much he can do at the line of scrimmage as far as cadence just alone. Is it on at a home game it's going to be a regular count, but is it on 1? Is it on first sound? Is it second sound? Is it on 2? Is it on 3? We used to call it ice cream cadence. I think I told you last week, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out Aaron Rodgers even before I got to Pittsburgh. And we used a lot of it with Ben, because there's a lot of nuances to it. So just that alone is such a huge weapon, especially at home. Now they're going to be on the road today, obviously. But even with the silent count, I mean, he's a master. So, the ability to work at the line of scrimmage to, in this day and age, there's so many audibles and double play calls, meaning you might have 2 runs called, a run to a pass to a run, whatever it is. and then an additional audible if something it comes up that's unforeseen. He's a master. So, that alone is such a huge weapon. He can still throw it. I love Cam Hayward yelling in the background of his interview, the icy hot bowl. I thought that was tremendous when you're talking about two 40-plus-year-old quarterbacks. So, no, Aaron has been great.
Yeah, he's been fantastic, no question about it. Let's talk about Art Smith and the relationship. Now, I'm not saying you have any in-depth knowledge of those two, but as a coordinator, you think about the roster of quarterbacks that you had under your, guidance. How much does Art trust him or allow him to modify what he's suggesting? What do you think that relationship is like, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I don't have any inside knowledge, but I did the same job for a long time with a lot of different quarterbacks, and every quarterback's different. I know Aaron a little bit through off the field type things and pre-games and things like that, but this is a really cerebral guy that pays attention, that studies. I had Kurt Warner in Arizona, and on game plan day, usually Monday and then Tuesday. Back then it was faxes. The fax machine, the secretary would come down the hall every 2 minutes. Kurt sent this, Kurt sent that, and then I think the real job of the coordinator when you have an experienced guy like Aaron Rodgers is to, okay, here's what he loves. And if he's doing his homework, that he's doing it. He's not just throwing, fried bologna against the wall. He's putting the effort into it. Then you take that and see how you can best assimilate it into what is not going to slow everybody else down on the roster. Because you have to take that into account. Aaron Rodgers is thinking at a totally different level than some of the other players on the field. So, I think that's the fun part of it. At least it was for me with Kurt. It was getting 50 pages of faxes of drawings and here's what I think, here's what the defense plays. And then trying to mold it all together, and I think that's the real key for a good coordinator, which I think Arthur Smith is. How he could not have 100% trust in Aaron, there's no way I could ever think that. I mean, it's a smart coach with a smart quarterback. Throw Mike T in there. It's a good situation to be in.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're getting from YouTube questions. How much does Rodgers trust, Aaron, the Coach Smith in terms of, the play calling? Todd Haley, former head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, offensive coordinator with the Steelers, with the Browns, with Arizona, of course, an Upper St. Clair High School graduate, joining us on Haley's Huddle here at Steel City Sunday. Steelers in Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Is it must win for Zach? For their head coach, Zach Smith, is it must win? Zach Taylor, as I should say. We've already seen one head coach get fired. He's on a hot seat now. Would you not agree? There's probably 4 or 5 of them right now that are sweating.
Well, I don't like to talk about this, but yeah, I would think you are. Now, Cincinnati hasn't shown a propensity to want to run through coaches like some other teams. So I would think they're going to be more patient than most. But it's a very tough situation. You lost one of the top players in the league in Joe Burrow. You invested a ton of money in him. You invested a ton of money into Jamar Chase and to T. Higgins, Trey Hendrickson. So, when ownership does those type of things, they want to see results. And we know this is a what have you done for me lately league. So, I'm not speculating on anything, whether he's in trouble, not in trouble, because I have no idea. But, you've paid a lot of money to some of these big time players. You lost one of them. I think that was the reason we saw the trade for Flacco. It's kind of desperation for them more on the season to me. They won their first 2 games. Now they've dropped 4. So they still, their margin of error got smaller, but it's, they're still got to believe they're in it. So what can we do to try to shake this up, but ultimately it comes down to what happens on the field. They can't run the football, and defensively just get no help from the offense, time of possession, all those things. So, that's where it's really got to change. So how much they can do in a week, week 2 of Joe Flacco, I don't know.
What I like about you is that you're just very direct and honest. And so take me through, like, you're the head coach at Kansas City and the pressure's on. You're a coordinator with an NFL team, the pressure's on. What are those conversations like? If you're the big boss, it's probably with the GM and the president and maybe the owner. If you're the OC, it's with your head coach. And when the pressure's on, what are those conversations like? Take us through that, because it's not like working a 9-to-5 or at McDonald's, slinging fries. It's a little bit different.
Hey, there's pressure in all jobs, John.
Right. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's the ultimate thing you can do, I think, to give yourself a chance is to block us out. I heard John ranting before I came on. I mean, you gotta have a thick skin, as you said. You gotta be able to block it out, stay focused on the task at hand. What do we need to do to get better? I was blessed to be taught and mentored by Bill Parcells. I mean, I've been through it with him, with the Jets, with the Cowboys. The tough times, the good times, how you respond in all those situations is critical. So it's about, and that's what I love about Mike T. I mean, it was daily conversation between him and I, between him and our offense staff, the entire staff, but just, what do we need to do? How do we need to play to have a chance to win a game? Maybe even if we're outmanned. So, those conversations, at the time, you're not thinking like everybody else is. You're not thinking, oh, I'm on the hot seat. I mean, you're just trying to do the best job you can do. And ultimately it comes down to getting those players in that room to believe in you and what the path to victory is. And that's how every week starts. Here's what we have to do to win. Offense, defense, special teams. It doesn't matter what it looks like. But here are the key things, and like I look at the Steelers and I'm like, the stat that jumps out at me right now is they're getting outgained, but some of that's out of balance because of, a couple games. But,
right.
The run, they're averaging 85 yards a game rushing, but they're giving up 100 and whatever. That stat has to continue. Now, it flipped last week. That they helped it. But I think these next couple weeks and starting tonight against the Bengals is they gotta continue to flip that stat, because all of a sudden if you're running more than you're giving up running, your time of possession is going to improve. That's going to rest the defense. They're doing a lot of good things on defense, sacks, creating turnovers. Those are all great things. I mean, they're difference makers in games and have been. And I think that's, when you see the Steelers at +7 and you see some of the offense and defensive stats, you're like, how are they winning? Well, right now it's sacks, which are minus yards, and it's turnovers.
Turnovers.
So, but that's kept them in the race right now. But I think ultimately for us to start talking about the Steelers being a legitimate contender, we got to see some of those other things start to continue to improve.
Yeah, Bengals 31st overall in defense, 28th against the run. Todd Haley, you're the best. I appreciate you coming on board, Todd. Great insight as always. We are so excited to have you part of the pregame.
No, I love it. Let's go Steelers.
Let's go Steelers.
I'll start talking with my Pittsburgh accent if you want me to, downtown.
I love it. You're the best. Thanks, Todd. Thank you.
All right.
Todd Haley from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. I think somewhere on there on the ocean. I miss the ocean. I miss living coastal life. The salt life is just unbelievable. All right, we continue. This train does not stop. I'm excited to bring on, for Behind Enemy Lines, Bengal Jim. Let me just tell you right now, this guy has a tailgate in Cincinnati that has like 4,000 people, and I believe he's backstage right now. We're going to bring Bengal Jim in here now. He is live from Cincinnati where the Steelers and Bengals are playing. Jim, how are you, sir? Good, and thanks for joining us on our pregame show.
Can you hear me right now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, good enough. We're good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Excellent. So first off, amazing following on X, over 80,000 people. Your Facebook page is over 50, 60,000. you do this tailgate where, you've got thousands of people, you raise money. How did you get started doing all of this? Just out of curiosity.
Long story short, 1993, me and a bunch of buddies sat around a charcoal grill with a case of beers, and with four of us, and now we've got probably at the peak tonight we'll have about 5,000 fans down here on the riverbank here in Cincinnati, Ohio, right across the street from Paycor Stadium. So it's crazy. It's obviously myself, Tony the Tiger. I got buddies like James and Craig and Mark and Brian, all these guys that work their butts off to make this happen. But it's a lot of fun bringing people together. We got a few Steelers fans here. We're more than welcoming to other cities fans. That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, of course, you've been a fan of the year. The Bengals made you their fan of the year in 2021. You've been inducted into Ultimate Fan Hall of Fame a few years ago. You've seen this team over the decades, and, they got so close a few years ago. And look, when we lost Ben Roethlisberger, I'm not even kidding here, I automatically adopted Joe Burr. I love that kid. And he's a grown man, obviously, now, and he's suffered some injuries, but I think if he gets healthy, I mean, obviously going to play this year. You guys are such contenders when he is healthy. Can you talk a little bit about what his impact has been on this team when he is healthy, how good he is, and how dangerous the Bengals are?
Well, you see the first two games we go 2-0. Without Joe, we're 0-4 right now, right? So this guy, just the impact on this team on both sides of the ball and special teams. And not just that, even bigger, this community, this Bengals community here, not just in Cincinnati, but across the country and across the world. And Joe Burrow came in town, changed the mindset of a lot of Bengals fans. And it's been a long drought, man. So it's been fun. Joe Burrow made football fun here in Cincinnati again.
Yeah, he did for sure, and like I said, just so close a few years ago to getting this team a Super Bowl. So let's talk about the defense for a moment. You guys fired your defensive coordinator last year, and I guess Lou Anarumo. I know I'm going to pronounce that name wrong. He was your defensive coordinator. He got thrown out. Zach Taylor, and this defense is just not good right now. After two games, you said they were 2-0 and they lose Joe. What has happened to the defense where they have plummeted in the last month, do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what, lack of pressure on the quarterback, not able to stop the run. And it's a young defense. There's a lot of young players, and you got a new defensive coordinator. He knew going into the season, even Joe was healthy, that the defense was going to give up a lot of points early in the season. Hopefully, by midway through the season that they would get where they needed to be. Now we just benched Logan Wilson, our starting linebacker, and we got two rookie linebackers playing right now. So with rookies playing in the middle of the field, you're gonna experience some lump there for sure. So I think they have good talent, a lot of great athletes. They're not there where they need to be yet, and unfortunately, it doesn't get any easier tonight against the Steelers.
Bengal Jim and Friends on X. You can also find him on YouTube. He's got a podcast. You can check out his thoughts on the Bengals there. You've got Joe Flacco now. He played last week against Green Bay in a loss. I mean, this is they dubbed this the icy hot bowl. Guess somebody
this is the Medicare bowl. This is the Medicare bowl.
Medicare bowl. How can Flacco help you? How can he help this team?
He knows the AFC North guy. Look, I was in Green Bay last week. He was only in camp for practice for 3 days last week.
Right.
Before he went into the game against Green. That first half looked like it. The second half, he got in a groove. He got in a rhythm. He got that feel for the receivers and the offense. So the thought here is in Cincinnati is that that carries over. He gets the ball out of his hand a lot quicker. He'll throw the ball away versus scrambling around and trying to make a play. Look, I think it's a huge upgrade over Jake Browning. But it doesn't get easy tonight with that front seven of Pittsburgh.
Is Zach Taylor on the hot seat? If he loses this game, is he out?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I would say most of the fan base here in Cincinnati would say yes. They want him out now. They want him to stop calling plays. They want him to hand over play calling. They want him to manage the game and not call plays. I think he's got to pass the rest of the year now. We'll see. We'll see. With Joe Burrow not being in there, man. Joe Burrow hit a lot of things that got exposed when Joe Burrow went out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, plenty. Listen, we've seen this in 2019. You know, Ben went down, and it was a disaster. We had a duck quarterbacking this team for a few games, and it gets pretty ugly. Replacing a quarterback, especially an elite quarterback, somebody that has gotten you to a Super Bowl, and especially early in his career, can't do it. It's immeasurable how important. You know, look at the great dynasties in the NFL. They all had Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and Burrow is certainly somebody who can play to that level. I don't disagree with it 1 minute. I'll keep you for another moment or two, and then I'll let you go. How much trouble can DJ Turner cause the Steelers tonight?
I tell you what, a young secondary, guys, a really young secondary. They're pretty aggressive. You know, it's turning into one of our strengths, believe it or not, right now. DJ Turner's a pretty damn good little ball player, man. So we'll see, man. I'm excited. Doesn't look like Trey's playing tonight. Looks like we got Shamar Stewart back at defensive end. Man, it's going to be a challenge today. But I'm telling you, the vibe here in Cincinnati with Bengal fans locally and across the country right now is you think we got a pretty good shot tonight. That second half gave us the silver lining. And I think tonight's way more important for the Cincinnati Bengals than it is the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Seriously.
Desperation in any sport is a motivator, and I completely agree with you. I don't like this spot at all. If there's one thing about Mike Tomlin, and we talked a little bit about this in our pregame, and I've heard this on other shows as well. You've seen it on X and some other social media sites. 0-6 on Thursday Night Football in the division on the road. I think 8-10 overall on short weeks. Just not good in these spots. And when he's especially a road favorite against a team that's, hurting, and this team is certainly hurting. I was telling a friend of mine I would tease Cincinnati up and be feel good about having 11.5, but I still think 5.5 if you're a betting person or just outright. I wouldn't put it past the Steelers to come in here and, screw the pooch, if you will, and Cincinnati to play up like their life's depended on it. This is a great spot for them.
There's definitely a sense of urgency with this team right now. You can feel it and you can see it. So I got a feeling this is a really, really good game tonight, man. So I think the Bengals do have a legitimate shot to win this damn thing tonight. I don't say that lightly because – last week we were a 14-point dog, right? And I knew we didn't have a chance in hell winning that game. But I think there is an opportunity tonight, especially division game, sense of urgency. Zach Taylor, they got to pull this thing off somehow, some way.
Bengal Jim on our Behind Enemy Lines segment. You can check him out on X. You can go find him on YouTube. Fan of the year for Bengals in 2021. Super guy, runs a huge tailgate. They raise a ton of money for local charities in the Cincinnati area. Jim, thanks for joining us on the pregame show. Very kind of you for giving us some insight from your side of the thing.
Hey, we appreciate you guys. Hey, we love you in Pittsburgh, man. Hey, remember, hate the team, love the fan. We love you guys, man.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you. Thank you.
See you, man. Bye-bye.
Bengal Jim Foster, busy guy. He's got a day job, but he is a super fan, and he runs this amazing tailgate down there. I'd heard about him before. Look, 30 years in media, I've got a pretty big Rolodex, but the Cincinnati market was just tough this week. Nobody was getting back to me. Everybody was saying no. And I was told, hey, you should check, reach out to this guy. Got back to me, and he was like, yeah, I'll do it for you. I got a massive tailgate, but you know what? I'll give you some time. And it's good to get that perspective. Plus, he does a podcast and has a ton of social media presence in the Cincinnati market. Gives us a little insight on what's going on in Cincinnati. Steelers and Bengals, about 2 hours, a little less than 3 hours away now from kickoff. Games on Amazon Prime, if you aren't already aware. I do believe it'll be locally on Channel 4, however, as I drag Bill Akins in for his first shot here on the pregame show. Good afternoon, Mr. Akins.
What's going on?
Okay, well, hey, look, we're off to a good start. I like it when things are hot and heavy. People are checking out the show online. We've got, by far, X has been our best destination. We're working on, Facebook and YouTube, and we're getting there. I think by the time we get to the Packers game, we'll be able to get on TikTok, possibly even have Instagram at that point in time. And if you're joining us on X, we appreciate you hanging out with us. We're here every Steelers game live, 3 hours prior to kickoff and immediately following. Our lineup of guests, just 5 weeks in, week 6 now for us, we'll continue to have people on throughout the course of the pre-games, but we have a consistent lineup of people. Just so if you're relatively new to the show, know that for a fact, John Fedko, Paul Zeiss, Mike Osti, Todd Haley, our Consigs Pick segment with professional gamblers and odds makers, Behind Enemy Lines, where we try to bring people in from the opposing team. We've got Jerry DePaula and John Fedko on our post-game shows. We've got Anthony Halkeas from SteelerNation.com, giant Steelers website where you can get news and live content. They've got their own content. Anthony's a part of our regular show every single week. So if you're jumping on board now, we appreciate that. Let people know about us. We appreciate your support, and we're here to entertain. Sometimes I entertain.
Oh, you definitely entertain.
That's Fedko's job.
Yeah, he's the resident entertainer. Yeah.
He is, without a doubt. I'm telling you, I waited 23 years to work with the guy again. I'm so excited to be in his sphere. He is just a force of nature. And our post-game show, we'll have him all season long for the remainder of the year. Okay, Bill, thoughts on today's game? It is a weird spot. This team is playing so well, but this is where Tomlin has had trouble. In the division on Thursday night on the road, has never won a game in 6 tries.
Yeah, I mean, that's surprising. I mean, that's I don't know. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Bengals, they're up against it. I mean, this is their season right here. I mean, so I mean, you look at it, people asking, well, even Tomlin, he didn't understand why they traded to get Flacco. I know why, because Browning wasn't cutting it, and they needed to salvage their season. Burrow's not coming back anytime soon. What they're saying, maybe towards the end of December, maybe. So this is their season right here, and I'm a little leery about that. That scares me a little bit. I was looking at Flacco. Flacco's 500 against the Steelers, 11-11 career record in 22 games. 61% completion rate, averages 228 yards per game, 27 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, career passer rating of 85.4 against Pittsburgh. I mean, I tell you what, you give Flacco time. I mean, he can find his receivers.
Yeah, if they give him protection, he's got good receiving core. If they give him protection, he's going to cause some problems. Great audience so far on X. We appreciate all of that. I know Jack Johnson, who's going to be joining us a little bit later on in our Consigs Pick segment, tweeting us out. His crew is probably hanging out and watching. We're going to talk about sports betting with Jack. Get his perspective from a book's perspective. I like having guests of that nature. That should be good. That's at 6:45 p.m. Eastern today with Carl Jack Johnson in our Consigs Pick segment. In a few moments, we're going to bring Mike Osi on with the mic drop. We'll talk to the managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, national writer for Yard Barker, and, of course, can be heard on Sirius XM. Broke national news over the past weekend, letting people know that Adidas was helping with the buyout of James Franklin and, quite frankly, could be helping to select the next head coach at Penn State. Yeah. Although we want to see Terry Smith get it. Terry Smith, one of the great guys, Gateway Gator graduate. Of course, he played on those great teams that Pete Antamarino coached back in the 80s. Of course, was the head coach at Gateway, later went on to be an assistant at Penn State, and now the interim head coach of the Nittany Lions. It is Steel City Sunday. It is our pregame show before the Bengals and Steelers do battle, 8:15 p.m. from Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati on the banks of the Ohio River. We'll have more guests here throughout the next few hours as we get you seasoned up. North Park Lounge, Richland filling up. We should have a nice crowd here. And while we're at it, before we get to our good friend Mike Ostie. I will let you know that today's broadcast is brought to you in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration. Arch Masonry and Restoration is hiring brick masons. They're hiring block masons. They're hiring concrete finishers. If you're a construction laborer, if you're not working much right now, they are busy and they are looking for professional people. And even if you have no experience, that's no problem. You can learn on the job because they have advancement programs and classes that can jumpstart your career in the building trades. Call 412-564-5733 or visit archmasonryinc.com to learn more about them. And I've worked with Arch Masonry for over a decade. Great company. They care about their employees. Great benefits program. They pay your benefits 100%. Medical, dental, vision, short-term disability after 6 months on the job. You don't find that with many non-union contractors. They are a fantastic company. They care about their employees. ArchMasonryInc.com to learn more. All right, Mike Ostie just moments away if he's not already with us. Is he in the backstage yet? We'll get to Mike Ostie in a few minutes. Let's talk a little bit more about Aaron Rodgers. By far, the MVP of this team through 5 games. 70% completion percentage. He's been dynamic. He's been efficient. He doesn't have to throw the ball deep downfield. You know, for 3 years, we did not see this team attack the middle of the field, right? With Kenny Pickett for 2 years, Mitch Trubisky last year with Fields, until they got to Russ. And, you know, he would throw the moon ball downfield. They just don't attack the middle deep. They don't have to, and especially with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who is surgical inside 20 yards, and he's just been dynamic. He's just been exactly what they've been missing. And, you know, there was a lot of talk about this team not having a number 2 wide receiver, and they don't still. You know, they have DK Metcalf, and he's scored in 4 straight games, and that's been fantastic. Say what you want about Calvin Austin. Say what you want about Roman Wilson. You know, the tight end situation has been interesting, to say the least. Jonnu Smith has seen more playing time. We have not seen much of Pat Freiermuth.
No.
Right? Darnell Washington has finally, after 2.5 years, they're starting to use him.
Right.
Big hands, soft hands, a kid out of Georgia. When they drafted him, I was so excited, and they never played him really at all in the first 2 years, and they barely threw it to him, if they did at all, ever. Now they're starting to get him loose a little bit, but we've seen Pat Freiermuth kind of fall to the side a little bit. Could he become possible trade bait?
Well,
that's the end of the month.
I don't know. I mean, there's some dead cap they'd have to eat on that if they trade him. You know, hey, listen, they need protection, right? I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these 13 personnel. You're seeing Washington in there. You know, Washington can catch and block, right? I mean, Freiermuth, he can catch. He's not really good at blocking. So, you know, and I tell you what, if you, you know, when you look at it, if you've got, if you've got a set with Jonnu Smith and Freiermuth, the defense is pretty much saying, okay, they're gonna throw the ball. You have Washington in there. You really don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, because like I said, he can block, he can catch. Yeah. He's slow. I mean, I'm gonna say that he's slow.
Yeah, well, slow. Yeah. We'll see how things play out. Look, yeah. I'm not, and I like Pat, but if Jonnu Smith and Darnell are the answer right now, you continue to go with what's working. Okay, I believe we have Mike Ostie now, right? He's in the backstage, almost approaching 1,000 people on X. We're excited about that. Mike Ostie, national writer for Yardbarker, breaking national news. Pablo Torre follows him on X. I bowed to you, sir. You have risen amongst the ranks of people in the sports media landscape. Great job on the story last weekend.
I don't know about all of that. I will still take my humble spot towards the bottom of this roster that you've built with Jerry DePaula, former troop colleague of mine, John Fedko, Paul Zeiss, yourself, who I started.
We have an ex-NFL head coach on our pregame show now, too. How'd that happen?
Todd Haley, right. So, and I can say that if you build, I will do this to brush my shoulders off, John, if you build a roster as impressive as one that you've built, in which Mike Oste's towards the bottom. That's a championship roster. That's been a championship roster if you were going to put me behind them.
As we always used to say, number 29 in our hearts, number 1 in my playbook. Okay, that's you right there, Mike. Number 1 in my playbook, pal. So let's talk a little bit about tonight's game. Let's start with the obvious, and Joe Flacco versus Aaron Rodgers. I mean, what's old is new again.
Yeah,
and
icy hot game. Or
right. I'm not sure who gets credit for that, but I know Cam Hayward mentioned it, but it had been on. I think I saw it on X maybe Monday by somebody, and it caught fire.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on this matchup between these two 40-somethings?
It's funny to see this matchup. I don't know if anyone expected to see these two added at this age. Maybe Rodgers, but probably thought Flacco would be done by now. It's a matchup that should still heavily favor the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially with Flacco having less preparation and joining the fold after the trade from Cleveland. You also would figure that Flacco is less prone to enter this game and tear it up and light it up. People forget that, a couple years ago, he led the Browns to the playoffs and had this miraculous comeback story, and people thought he should have won Comeback Player of the Year, even though he only played half the season. They went to the postseason. Everyone was singing his praises, but that was 2 years ago. If you actually look at how he played this year before the trade, because he was, Mike Tomlin knows very well, he was the Browns opening day starter. It was rough. 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, a completion percentage below 60, a shell of his former self, even from what he did a couple years ago. So unless the Browns really establish a running game, unless they force a lot of turnovers on defense and Garrett goes crazy against Aaron Rodgers, you would imagine that Joe Flacco is going to be up a creek without a paddle, whereas Aaron Rodgers to this point has been able to rely on his defense doing enough, even if they have been far from perfect that I wrote about, getting enough help from his playmakers and DK Metcalf for big plays, and even without a running game, been able to still win games. They just have a better roster, and he's still a better quarterback. So I would imagine this matchup still favors Aaron Rodgers. But again, as Mike Tomlin put it, this is a little different than if you were going to be facing the Bengals after Joe Burrow a week plus ago. The Browns allow the Bengals to be in a better spot, or as good of a spot as they could be without Joe Burrow, by acquiring their need that they were desperate in. And he did say that unless Andrew Berry knows something I don't know, I don't think you really should trade somebody to a rival and give them exactly what they need, to paraphrase. And that's exactly what happened. So now the Bengals at least have a punter's shot, maybe.
Were you surprised at Mike's reaction?
So,
because he's very reserved. I mean, for the most part, I mean, to let that out and to be quite vocal about it, I was a little surprised.
I'm gonna be honest here. Of all my years covering the Steelers, being in those press conferences, knowing him, I was very surprised. And when I sat in another press conference a day later and kind of just joking around with colleagues about, hey, did you hear what Mike Tomlin said, including a Browns fan to my left at that presser, the Browns fan and all the other Steeler fans were very surprised. Media colleagues were very surprised. It was surprising because, as you mentioned, Mike Tomlin, generally speaking, is very, close to the vest, doesn't want to let any opponent know that he's worried about them, respects everybody. They could be an 0-17 team. He's going to say that, hey, they could be a problem. He doesn't want to allow any bulletin board material to get out there, and he kind of did in a weird way this week. And he also doesn't complain. That was a complaint.
It was a complaint.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin's a coach that no matter what's going on, even if you go back to the Duck and Mason year, he would say all through that year, I'm not, this is our situation. You got to make do with the situation.
Right.
He's always a don't live in our fears, creature of habit,
right.
Standards the standard, no matter what the situation, no matter the card you're dealt. We're going to leave a light on for players. All of those phrases he loves to say, especially going into games. And then this week, he complained. He flat out complained. I don't want to say he lived in his fears, but we'll see how he handles this game. He kind of lived in the fears of being more scared of Joe Flacco than whoever else could be out there. But yeah, to let that out there and complain, and when you think about it, I wrote about this too on Yardbarker, I do get what he's saying. It's uncharacteristic to see rivals trade with rivals when you help them and give them what they need. But The Browns were done with Flacco. They're looking to evaluate quarterbacks now, and they got a 5th-round pick for a 40-plus-year quarterback who's no longer really doing anything that they're not going to use, and if they even try to play, their media kills them. So they almost got a 5th-round pick for nothing. I get that in a way. I don't think Flacco's going to go ahead and lead the Bengals to the Super Bowl. Like, what are you scared of? But yeah, that was weird to hear Mike Tomlin be that honest and complain. Yeah,
I was a little surprised by it for sure. We're with Mike Ostie of West Virginia Sports Now, managing editor of that page. Of course, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites. You can check his stuff out on Yardbarker. He writes nationally for them. Also heard on Sirius XM, and of course, this is the mic drop. The defense has just been dynamite the last 3 games. Again, relative to the competition, but still the amount of turnovers and sacks that they are producing since Derek Harmon finally came to the lineup, and then Nick Herbig coming in to replace Alex Highsmith, who was injured for those 2 games against New England and the Vikings. And then last week, they just figured out a way to use everybody, and they had 6 sacks. They didn't give up a sack, and they were dominant in that ugly win against Cleveland. More of the same this week from the defense, do you think?
I would imagine the Steelers' defense is going to be able to feast against Flacco. The Steelers' defense is going to be able to force turnovers, and it'll be more of the same from what we've seen in recent weeks. I will say, and the pushback to those comments there about the defense, it is relative to the opponents, and the Bengals are another poor opponent. Without Burrow, they're not really a contender for many. They've been losing, but they've also been allowing yards even to the weak competition. So it's been a very bend but don't break defense. This Steelers defense is ranked 28th, I believe, in yards. They're barely respectable in defense and total yards allowed and what they allow teams to do against them in terms of driving the field. What you're saying is why the defense is kind of having the ability to have people sing their praises and why they're winning games. They're forcing turnovers and still generating sacks. They're getting a pass rush and they're forcing turnovers. If you don't get turnovers every single week and you don't get sacks every single week, and they're never guaranteed for anybody, then there's an opportunity for this defense to struggle. Do I think Joe Flacco's the guy to tear him up and to do that and force the defense struggle? No. What I will say, John, I think this defense will be fine in this matchup. The Steelers, if they score 20 points in this game, probably it'll be enough. This might be similar to the Browns game, but the schedule is beefing up. I don't know if the defense can play like they've been in recent weeks and allow yards, but again, get turnovers against better quarterbacks, against better teams for several weeks in a row. They're still in great position to win the division because of everybody else, but they certainly can lose some games if they keep playing this exact same way coming up.
Yeah, they're going to get 10, 11 days off before they get Love at Green Bay, and then Danny Dimes comes in. He's tearing it up for Indianapolis right now. I mean, they're going to face Justin Herbert, know, and then, of course, Josh Allen late in November. So they've got elite quarterbacks coming their way for them. Real quick before I let you go, this rush defense that the Bengals have is awful. 31st overall defense, 28th against the run. Can the Steelers, can Jaylen Warren, can Caleb Johnson, can they get to 100 yards, 110, 15 yards today against this porous defense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tomlin would say they just want to win the game. They don't put individual goals out there for yards and numbers, but I would imagine in the back of their mind, that's the goal. They want to get 100 yards. They want to finally do that in this game. If ever they're going to get going, it's in this game against this opponent, especially when you have the rest after this. Do this. Feel good about yourself, build momentum, have the division almost freaking locked up before Halloween based on what everyone else is doing, and then go to the rest of the season. And I will be watching to see if they can get the run game going early, if that opens up a lot of big play opportunities for Aaron Rodgers. He really lets it fly late. They run away with this game. Maybe they can give him a rest even in the fourth quarter if they really have a dominating win.
Right.
And again, if they can do it in this game, then it doesn't guarantee they can do it in later games. But if ever you're going to do it, it is in this game. And if they struggle on the ground in this game, John, to be the bearer of bad news again, I guess, if they struggle on the ground in this game, it might also be indicative that that's just going to be the problem all year long.
Right.
If ever there's a time to get going, it is in this one.
Yeah, now's the time.
Now is the freaking time here, and on national stage against a team that you should beat.
Yeah, and I forget to mention Kenneth Gainwell. He's been a great addition from Philadelphia in the offseason, and credit Omar Khan for that pickup.
Yeah,
Mike Austin, you're the best man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And you are elite on this roster, pal. Don't sell yourself short. That's my job.
Well, I appreciate. Yeah, I'm here for a reason, for sure.
You do a great job. Listen. I've been happy to see you've done so well for yourself. You do a great work. I mean, that's again. Who's going to get? Who's this West Virginia guy? Whoa. You know what I mean? It's like, what does that matter? You know what I mean? Like, you handled all of that nonsense last week so extremely well. Great work as always, Mike.
I appreciate it. It's not my first rodeo.
No doubt.
I appreciate it, man.
My man, Mike Ostie in the mic drop, national writer for Yardbarker, of course, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, and, of course, heard on Sirius XM Radio. We are Steel City Sunday. Our audience is growing massively. I think it's a Jick Jack. I'm going to say this is because of Jick Jack Johnson. Our biggest audience to date.
Yeah.
On across all platforms. We can't thank you folks enough. Yeah, I know. It's awesome. It really is. We hope you're enjoying the pregame show, folks. By all means, continue to come back. Every time Steelers play, we are here. Every time the Steelers play. 3 hours prior to kickoff and immediately following, we are live from the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center on Route 8 in Gibsonia. This is our home base. Steel City Sunday emanates from here every single time the Steelers play. If you're in the area, come on up. Amazing drink specials, great food. They've got a 16,000 square foot entertainment facility here. If you're thinking about Christmas and the holidays and you've got a business and you are looking for a new location to maybe have an event, you definitely want to keep these folks in mind. Mark Baranowski and his North Park Lounge restaurant group. These people know the industry. 7 restaurants, I believe, across Western Pennsylvania. They know how to do it. They've been gracious to us. We're always excited to come here and work. And the audience that we're seeing here on X and a couple of other platforms, we're appreciative. So hang tight, folks. We're going to take you into kickoff right about 8 o'clock. Right about 8 o'clock. Here in the 6 o'clock hour, we've got about 15 minutes to kind of shoot the breeze with you. If you're on X and you have a question or something you want to say, our tweet is pinned with our broadcast. We'd love for you to leave us some sort of message there. That way we can say hi to you. Maybe you can let us know where you're from and what your thoughts are on the Steelers game. You can interact with us on YouTube, on all the socials, at Steel City Sunday, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and, of course, right here on X. We are found at Steel City Sunday. Come join us every single week and stick around until about 8 o'clock when we turn things over to the broadcast itself. It'll be, of course, on Amazon Prime. If you're local to Pittsburgh, the game should be on Channel 4. I believe it's on Channel 4. That's right. I was trying to talk with Andrew Stock. He was a little busy this week because they were getting prepared to host the broadcast of the. That's one thing I'll give the NFL credit. They still at least allow the local cities that are participating in these streams, right? If your game is local, but it's a stream on Amazon, or if it's on like say Peacock, I know they do some stuff. And I'm trying to YouTube. The YouTube gets a few games. The NFL still has a local TV affiliate that they're going to put the games on. I give them credit for that. They don't make you buy every streaming service. It's more expensive now to watch.
Yeah,
Netflix than it was 5 years ago. Netflix is another one.
Well, here's a question I have. Do you think we're ever going to get to the point where the Super Bowl is going to be exclusively on a streaming service?
100%. Eventually, the NFL, you'll have to a la carte everything.
Yeah.
The networks are going to eventually go away. I mean, they'll operate online, and it'll be a la carte. You'll have to order a game. It'll be just like press a button. They take your credits if your social credit score is good enough. Don't forget about that. Let's not even talk about that topic. But yeah, eventually it's going to be that way. There's 100%. Yeah, that's what I'm totally in simpatico with you on that. And look, look, when I was living in South Carolina just a year ago, I had NFL Network. I had the Sunday Ticket. I bought all that stuff.
Mhm.
Had to have it. If you
Right.
wanted to watch the games, if you're out of market, you're buying that product.
Well, that's,
You're
I
buying
really
that
like-
product.
yeah, I really like NFL Plus. I mean,
I couldn't stand it. I had it the first time it came out. I hated it.
it's better now. It's better
Yeah, I'm
now.
sure it
Yeah.
is.
They,
Yeah.
They worked a lot of the glitches out. It's a lot better.
Yeah, Roger Goodell glitched me out of like $10 a month for like 5 months because I had two services that I couldn't get that one. They have no customer call center for any of that stuff. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, it's you're working with AI soon. They'll just take it all out of your, like I said, your social credit score account. But hey, let's hope we don't get to that point. Steelers and Bengals about 2 hours and 10 minutes away from kickoff. I'm still a little, again, it's concerning that you look at Mike Tomlin's history in these Thursday night games coming off a short rest. He has not fared well. Certainly the Thursday night games within the division, he's never won a game. He's 0-6. And this is why I stopped betting on the Steelers years ago, because I have no read on this football team. Right? Last week I'm like, Cleveland's getting 5.5. It'll be a close game. Whip them. Just whip them. Right? Same thing here. They're laying 5.5 on the road. Presumably, they're an 8.5 point favorite. Of course, Vegas will set a home team at -3 and then adjust a line based on what they have in terms of the information. So they're saying the Steelers are 8.5 points better than the Bengals, technically. I mean, if we're going to get around to it. And so a buddy of mine called. He's like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "I don't know. Tease Cincinnati to 11.5." But and it could easily be Steelers 30-7 or 10.
Yeah.
That's how well this defense is played. And again, marginal competition. You are winning the games you're supposed to. That's how it works, right? You beat the teams that are put in front of you. It doesn't matter if they're undefeated or if they have no wins. You have to beat them, whether it's ugly or not. And let's just, the last two, they handled Minnesota from the get. They were never behind in that game, I don't believe. They had to lead they had to lead the whole time.
Yeah.
I believe they had to lead the whole time.
They
had to lead the whole time, and they pretty much led the whole time against Cleveland.
Right. Yeah, Minnesota, they were they gave up 15 points in the fourth quarter. That's what made it, the final score 24-21. But
I think the Vikings might have had a field goal to start the game, but I might be wrong. I'll have to go back and take a peek at that.
Yeah.
But the simple fact of the matter is that they have done everything they're supposed to do against these teams that they have played. Now, look, even going back to the Seattle game, they were up at half, and they were tied going into the fourth quarter. And so those things you have to keep in mind as somebody, they're picking our sign up. Thank you very much. Anyhow, you have to keep that in mind, that they were tied at half and tied after three quarters and up at the half against the Seahawks before that game got away from them. And that was because of that, that botched kickoff that did them in. They got down by double digits, and it was, they came back and got a field goal when they needed a touchdown. Then they gave up another touchdown, and it was over. Bang, bang, bang. Seattle was in the end zone. The game was finished. So they have looked better the last 3 weeks, and that has a lot to do with the defense.
Well, yeah, and I tell you, the offensive line, I think, is getting better too. I mean, last week, Aaron Rodgers did not get sacked. I mean, so, it's improving. I think people need to be patient with this line. I really do. I think a lot of people, we look at them as professionals. You want things to get corrected and, right away. But you got to understand it takes time. So some people, are impatient.
Andrew Filipponi of 93.7 The Fan. I told him, I said, Fedco's talking about you. He's like, what did I do? He's so great. He's such an entertainer, okay, but a great human being. I know a lot of people hate Pony, and he draws the ire. He's asking me if he thinks they're safe, and I'm trying to tell him no. Entertainer and a great human being, okay? That's all I can say. That's all I can say. This is tough business to work in, and he does a fantastic job. I miss working with him and Chris and a few of the other guys over there. It was such a great 6 years over at that station. But hey, on to different things. And we're doing this show right now, and we're excited. Our audience continues to grow on X. Thank you very much for tuning in, sharing our product, letting people know. Jerry is backstage, Jerry DePaula. Let's get Jerry on early. Why not? Let's get him on, and we'll let Anthony go. We'll get him moved to maybe 6:15, 6:20. Jerry DePaula, longtime writer for the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review, former color commentator of high school football with me. But that was a long time ago.
20 years.
25.
25?
Yeah, it was 25 years.
John, it seems like yesterday.
Sports Radio 970, The Berg, and the Red Zone Media Network.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, touchdown.
I'm telling you, listen, and truth be told, when I was growing up, I had a little radio. It was a little Sesame Street clock. And it was Bert and Ernie. They were in the same bed together. Let's not even talk about that. But this was like 1978. And I'd take that radio and I'd listen to Marty Glickman out of New York. I'd listen to Jack Buck on KMOX in St. Louis. I would listen to, who was it in Cincinnati? God, I'm trying to remember the guy in Cincinnati that used to call the baseball games. I listened to Marv Albert. Used to catch all the great broadcasters as a kid. And I wanted my career to go play-by-play. And early on in my career, I thought I was going to go that path. It didn't work out that way. But those were fun memories of calling games, Jerry, in Pittsburgh on 970 with you. Those were good days back then, long time ago. I was working at Channel 11 with Fedco at that time as well.
I used to be on John's show all the time. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would bring you on. I would bring on, God, I'm telling you, who else? Oh, one of my favorites was, why am I forgetting? The guy calling the Pirate games for 25 years now. Why am I forgetting Hammer? Well, the Pirates play-by-play guy. Why am I forgetting him?
Greg Brown.
Greg Brown, probably my number one guest during baseball season would be Greg Brown. He'd come on all the time. He was amazing. And yeah, it was absolutely. We'd bring Mark Madden on and a whole bunch of people. That show was a something special for sure, and good times indeed. But we're on to bigger things. We're on to better things. We are talking about the Steelers and Bengals. Let's talk a little bit about this, Jerry. Your thoughts 5 weeks in. Steelers are 4-1 and a chance to have a 3.5 game lead in the AFC North if they win tonight.
That's pretty hard to believe they'd be up by 3.5 games this before Halloween, 2 weeks before Halloween. But they have to win tonight for that to happen. And actually, John, if Steelers don't win tonight by 2 touchdowns, it's going to be, I wouldn't say it's going to be considered a loss because wins always count and wins are hard to come by. But the Bengals stink. I mean, they truly do. I don't know how they won 2 games this year. I made a list just 5 minutes ago of the things that are in the Steelers' favor tonight. And that includes the Bengals' offensive line, which is horrible. They can't run block. Chase Brown is a no factor for them after being a guy fantasy people thought he was going to be a good running back. And they can't protect the quarterback. And, oh, by the way, they got to protect the 40-year-old guy tonight who can't move around very well. The other thing is they give up tons of yak, yards after catch. And the Steelers are one of the best teams in the league in yards after catch, with Metcalf and Warren. That's working in the Steelers' favor. And then, I mentioned Flacco. I mean, they might as well, instead of having Flacco, they might as well have Fedco at quarterback. And the result would be probably the same, right? But Flacco can't get out of his own way. He throws the ball very well. Mike Tomlin respects him, knows him. He would probably rather play against Jake Browning tonight. But I think the Steelers can get to Flacco. They've been blitzing more this year than in years past, and they've been pretty successful at it.
It's funny. Go ahead, Jerry.
This is a big game because next Sunday night is even a bigger game. If they can win tonight, go to 4-1. They got Green Bay, at Acrisure Stadium, hopefully with better turf next Sunday night.
We could talk about the turf here in a few minutes. You mentioned yards after catch. Cincinnati has given up 61% of their passing yardage after the catch, second highest percentage in the league this year. And of course, the Steelers, you talked about the yak yardage. 70% of their passing yards have come after the catch. That is the highest percentage in the league, 12 points better than the next closest team, which is Denver. Let's talk about DK Metcalf. Despite this team not having a number 2 wide receiver, it has not hurt them. Metcalf has been a big part of that. Now you're starting to see the team mix in Darnell Washington, right? You know, it was Jonnu Smith early, now Darnell Washington the last few weeks. Where does Pat Freiermuth fit into this? Or as I asked Bill Akins, are we seeing him getting set up to maybe be traded perhaps? Has he found himself addition by subtraction in all of this?
You know, I think, you know, I guess that's possible with the trade deadline coming up in a couple of weeks. But, you know, what if you get an injury? You know, let's say Washington, big guy like that, you know, gets hurt. Then the weapon is gone. And Freiermuth is gone too. Then if you trade him, and Jonnu Smith is a nice player, but he's only one guy. So you know, by the time you get into the season, you're 6 weeks into the season, your team is going good, your locker room is strong, you have guys, you know, backing each other up, looking out for each other. You got a team going now. If you end up trading guys, then what are you going to get for Pat Freiermuth? You know, he's a decent tight end, but you're going to get a second round pick for him? Probably not. You're going to get another wide receiver for him. It's any good? Probably not. And by the way, the Steelers have a number 2 receiver in Calvin Austin. He's hurt right now, but it's early in the season. He'll be back eventually, maybe even for the Green Bay game.
Well, you'd also have some dead money charges on the salary cap if you trade him, Jerry.
Yeah, he just signed a big contract, right? So
yeah,
Omar Khan is a smart guy. He's not going to make a trade, you know, just to make a trade if it's going to hurt his salary cap down the road. For what, a 4th round pick, a 3rd round pick, you know, a less than ideal wide receiver. It could happen. I'm not in those meetings, so who knows? But if I was in charge, I wouldn't do it.
Excellent. We're talking with Jerry DiPaolo, longtime writer of the Pittsburgh Tribune Review, covered the Steelers, Pirates, Penguins, all major sports, high school, you name it. He's done it. Pitt football at the end as well. How do you feel about the Panthers? They're 4-2. They went to Florida State and beat the Noles.
Ben wants to evict them from Acrisure Stadium.
Everybody wants them gone.
They won a big game against Florida State, and he was already saying Ben wants to get them evicted. Who's he to say that? I don't mean to toot my own horn, okay? But toot. Nearly 30 years ago, I was the one that told everybody Pitt would be playing in the new football stadium with the Steelers. That was on my AM 1250 days. Nice. It was. Well, I mean, look. It made sense. They were tearing down Three Rivers. You knew there had always been talk about them tearing down that old bowl, and of course it went to fruition. And I'm not saying they shouldn't consider building something on campus. Everybody's like, where could they put it? I think they could put it underneath the cathedral myself. There's enough space there where they could put it there, okay? And a 40,000 seat stadium, you find whatever the ACC minimum is, and you build that there, and then you've got Acrisure for bigger events. But that's my 2 cents. I don't think they should have ever have done that. Go and play at the same stadium myself. It was definitely a disadvantage for Pitt, but I don't think they should be kicked out just yet. I mean, I think it's going to happen eventually. You know, eventually there's going to be a stadium up there on campus. It may not happen in my lifetime. It may not happen in your lifetime, but I think eventually they're going to find a way to get it done. And it won't be easy. We'll have to displace some neighborhoods, displace some families, knock some things down. But in the meantime, I covered Pitt for 14 seasons, and one of the big things recruits tell me about being attracted to Pitt. Hey, we get to practice next door to the Steelers. We get to watch the Steelers practice. Right. I'll never forget Damar Hamlin having conversations with Mike Tomlin, between practices, and the Steelers players coming out to watch Pitt practice, and Pitt players watching the Steelers practice, and they got friendships built up. Ben Sauls has a friendship with Chris Boswell. The kickers get together and talk kicking. So it may happen eventually. I don't know if it's going to happen in the next 5 years, but it's That's such a bad deal. Acrisure Stadium's nice. If they get the turf fixed, it's a great place for a football game.
Yeah, no, look, it's a good building. I've always enjoyed. It's been a long time since I've been to a game, but that's by design more than anything else. It rocks. You know what I mean? And look, I know the Browns are getting a new building, right? They're getting a shiny new $2 billion piece of shiny trinket that they get to play in. I don't want to hear anything about a new stadium. I'm just going to tell you right now, if we get to that point in the next year or two, when Cleveland's new stadium is about to happen, I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? Because God knows they're probably nowhere close to paying off Acrisure as it is, let alone PNC Park.
Yeah.
I don't know what those numbers are at, but I would think that's a fair guess. No new stadiums is what I would say.
Well, if you're Pitt, you've got it's almost 70,000 capacity at Acrisure.
Yeah.
What are they maybe 25, 30,000 in some of these games? I mean, that's not a good look. If you build a 30, 35, 40,000 capacity stadium on campus, a lot better look, I think. I don't know.
But Jerry, what's the minimum in the ACC for a stadium? Do you know?
I don't know if there is a minimum, but I
Okay.
think we probably want it to be at least 40,000.
I would think.
But that's pretty far in the future, John. I don't.
I
think
agree.
It's going to happen anytime soon, no matter what the minimum is. And they're going to have to build a smaller stadium. Obviously, not going to build anything
Right.
resembling Acrisure Stadium.
Yeah.
But they'll have a lot of people down there for Notre Dame in about a month.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. It was just like it was at the old days, Jerry. If they needed a big game where big tickets were coming in, like Penn State, Notre Dame, they played the game at Three Rivers.
Right? Oh, yeah.
know?
Back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day.
And Pitt at Three Rivers all the time.
Real
No,
quick
all the time.
prediction. Real quick prediction before we let you go and get to Anthony Halkias.
Tonight's game?
Yes.
Steelers will win 24-10. How's that? That's
24-10.
That's the 2 touchdowns. But you know what? With Chase and Higgins, you got to be careful. It wouldn't surprise me at all if this game is close in the fourth quarter and the Steelers could lose it with one big pass from Flacco.
That's what my concern is. That's Jerry DePaula, folks. If you're watching us right now for the first time, longtime writer covering sports here in Pittsburgh. He joins our post-game show immediately following this Steelers-Bengals game, and every Steelers game when it's over, Jerry DePaula, John Fedko on our post-game shows. Jerry, we'll talk to you about 11:30, I would think.
Sounds good. I'll try to stay awake.
Couple toddies might get you there.
Okay, I'll take you up on that.
All right, thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, Johnny. Okay.
All right, Jerry DePaula, love Jerry. He is such a good human being and so knowledgeable about all things Pittsburgh sports and, of course, sports in general. We go from the old school to the new school. Bringing in now Anthony Halkias II. He is the lead writer of the Steelers for SteelerNation.com and another one of our newest members to Steel City Sunday. You're a good-looking young man, and you know the Steelers like the back of your hand, Anthony. How you doing tonight?
Good, John. How are you doing? Excited to be back on.
Hey, I tell you, it's a nice atmosphere up here at NPL tonight. You don't know how these night games are going to go, right? The older crowd. I'm part of the older crowd. I don't have. I think I'm your age, but I'm not. And so it'll be curious to see what kind of crowd we actually end up getting here tonight. But it's been pretty busy so far for this Thursday night contest. Let's get your thoughts on the geriatric bowl, the icy hot bowl, whatever they're calling it. Look, these guys have won Super Bowls. They're Hall of Famers. And they're facing one another. And for the Steelers, even though they've been just 11-11 against Flacco, he has delivered some daggers in his career to this team.
Yeah, I believe that the Steelers come out tonight and handle business. My biggest concern is it being a short week, obviously a veteran roster. But I think Aaron Rodgers is the matchup for him. He should have a bunch of time back there. No Trey Hendrickson, I believe, or he's questionable. We'll have to wait on that. But I think Rodgers is going to have a great game. I think he's going to soar over his number. DK Metcalf's going to have a big game. I'm excited to see how Jaylen Warren, he tends to show up in these games. He's kind of not hit his total against Cincinnati as of late, but I'm expecting a big game from Jaylen Warren and DK tonight. So I think the Steelers win by 2 touchdowns. But like the guy on before said, I won't be shocked if it's in the fourth quarter in a close game because of T and Chase. They scare me.
And again, we've talked a little bit about this, and it was on all over the internet in terms of like social media. Mike Tomlin's disappointments. I don't want to say failures, but just disappointments in division games on the road on Thursday night, off a short week, struggling. He's never won a division game on a Thursday night on the road, 0-6. And he has struggled in spots on the road as a favorite against sub 500 teams. He has been these teams have underperformed. I don't want to bet on them. I can tell you that right now. I would not put my money on the Steelers anymore just because I can't read this team. But if there is a team right now that can overcome that, it looks like it might be this one, because even though it was a close game last week, they pulled away and they were never really challenged. They kept their foot on the pedal, and they kept Cleveland at bay by just forcing punt after punt after punt. And you got a feeling that might be a similar case tonight, perhaps, especially with the way the defense is played.
Yeah. And I don't like to pretend I'm smarter than Mike Tomlin. I'm actually a big Mike Tomlin guy. I know we all have our different opinions. Right. But the fact that he's so concerned about Flacco to where he would come out and say that about Andrew Berry, it concerns me to a sense of this guy knows ball. He's watched a lot of film, and he's scared that Flacco's there to the point where he wants to say something about it. I don't know how much of that was showmanship or what Tomlin was really trying to do when he made those comments. But the fact he's that scared about Flacco, and just knowing that the guy can throw the ball to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, I actually expect T. Higgins to have a really big game tonight. Unfortunately, I think he's going to cause some problems, just the scheme and everything.
Yeah, listen, their receivers are dangerous, and kind of piggybacks on what I wanted to talk to you about. How much longer can this team go with just DK Metcalf and not a true number two? I mean, it's great that they're getting the big tight end, Darnell Washington, involved. We haven't seen much of Pat Freiermuth all season long, and they got Jonnu Smith involved a little bit early on. How much longer can they go without a real true number two on this team?
Yeah, well, if Calvin Austin's healthy, I do believe he works as a true number two technically, and then you have the tight ends and it all works. The issue is when Calvin Austin's hurt, like we're seeing now, and this was the issue last year when George Pickens got hurt. And this is why, and I'll be 100% honest with you, I'm probably the world's greatest George Pickens fan. I love the guy. And, I know a lot of people in Pittsburgh had their own opinions of him. I don't know if he'd be doing this year in Pittsburgh, but what I will say is it's just a little frustrating now to see, like, what do we really get for George? You could have had him this year, and right. One side, DK the other side, Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. I just have a hard time thinking that wasn't going to work. Now, they obviously were in the room with George. They know all this stuff. I'm not going to pretend to know it. I'm a fan. I'm biased of his. And I'm hearing that they want to get a wide receiver, and there's some options there now. I think they need to get one if they do want to contend, January, February. But
you run the Pickensburg X account, don't you, secretively?
No, I don't. I'm not affiliated with that. Everything Pickens related has my face on it. I'll put it.
Okay, fair enough. Listen, there's a whole bunch of these guys that are on the X accounts that are fans of this, that, and the other. That guy's a riot. I actually enjoy. I'm entertained by it. That's why he's got a nice following.
Yeah.
Sure. I talked to your boss about him the other night, too. Justin was laughing about it as well. Anthony Halkeas II, lead writer on SteelerNation.com, covering the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you're a Steelers fan and you have not been to SteelerNation.com, you should go check out their webpage. They don't just rehash news from around the Steeler world. They produce their own content and programming. You have the Terrible Tailgate. I know Kevin Adams does Steel Here Pod with Jersey Jerry. What else are you guys doing at Steeler Nation that people should maybe check out, podcast-wise, and whatever else that is interesting and new for you folks?
Yeah, I think the basic premise of what we do at Steeler Nation, why I love it so much, is that we aggregate the information from the insiders, and then we put our own spin on it, like you said, and we put out a really nice professional-looking article. So I guess the main thing is, instead of having to scroll Twitter and seeing all those stuff, we try to get all the most important stuff, all the most interesting stuff, put it in the article and give our thoughts on it. And, it's really not our opinions. We're just kind of explaining what they're saying, why the insiders are feeling this way and what's going on, just really trying to keep people up to date. I think those articles are really slept on. There's a lot of really good information in there.
Yeah, no, listen, I look, and having written for, Steeler Nation for a year and having, when I was working at the Fan, writing for, a blog I will not mention at this time, but nonetheless, having the ability to write opinion and your own stuff is nice. And, you get to write your opinion. You get to take something and say, hey, here are my thoughts. And that's what I like about it. And that's why I like Justin, because he gives you that ability to kind of craft your opinion around something that someone's talking about, and the reaction that you get from your fan base is pretty impressive. That's what I've always enjoyed about Steeler Nation. So
yeah, well, I want to say real quick too, because people say like, we'll get say there's a quote about George Pickens, and we're going to cover that story, and I love George, but it doesn't mean we're not going to cover the story or what's going on behind the scenes. And we get a lot of people, they'll come and say, oh, you guys hate, you're trying to stir drama and do this and that. All we're trying to do is anything interesting relating to the team is just unopinionated, unbiased, just put it out there and then share why they feel that way. So a lot of the thoughts aren't even from like, if there's a quote or something, some people think it's our opinion and we hate these certain players. We don't. We love all the players. Obviously we're fans, and so it's cool. It's fun. And, it's a one-stop place for all Steelers fans just to see everything on a site. Anything important, we're going to get.
Anthony Helkias, our guest here on Steel City Sunday, as we get you ready for Steelers and Bengals from Paycor. The Steelers 4-1. Cincinnati is 2-4. This run defense, they're just defense in general. They got rid of their defensive coordinator, and they're even worse. They're 31st in the league overall in total defense, 28th against the run, 31st against the pass. Could we see a 100-yard rushing effort from Jaylen Warren tonight?
Yeah, I started off when you brought me on saying that. I expect Jaylen Warren to have a really big night. I don't know about 100 yards rushing. I think rushing and receiving for sure, he'll have a big night that way. I'm interested to see how they're going to use Caleb Johnson too. He's starting to get some momentum, and then obviously Gainwell has shown that he can gain yards pretty well. So
Hey-o! Yeah. There you go. He's here all night, folks. Try the veal. No, you're right. I think it would be nice to see him get 75, 80. I'd love an 80-yard effort from him on the ground today. You know what I mean? Sure. Gainwell gets 20, 25 yards. Maybe Caleb chips in 10, 15. I'd like to see Aaron Rodgers throw 25 passes or less, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, that's a good night. That's a good night for the Steelers.
Yeah, that's where I go with like Rodgers. I started off saying I think he's going to have a big game, but it's kind of what is a big game, because I don't think he's going to have to be he's not going to have to throw the ball 30, 35 times. So, just be efficient. I think he's going to have a really good stat line, high completion percentage, a really good night from Rodgers, but nothing out of the ordinary, probably two passing touchdowns, 200 yards. And I think DK, I have a hard time believing DK gets boxed up tonight. I think he's going to have a really big primetime game tonight.
Yeah, I think the wide receivers on both sides could have big games for sure. Quick prediction before I let you go, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to say it. I don't like taking, like you said, I don't like taking the Steelers at minus 300 on a Thursday night short week. But I'll say this team's different. And until I have reason to believe otherwise, I think Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin can get it done against this Bengals team. Isn't very good. They have talent at some positions that worry me. I think it's going to be a two-score win, 2 touchdown win for the Steelers. Okay.
Anthony Helkias, I am saying that right, correct?
Yeah, you're doing well. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Tikanis, my friend. It's the only Greek I know. My friends always call me Yanike, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes. They were all in the candy business, too.
Okay.
They're all in the candy business. You're the best. Hey, I appreciate you. We're excited to have you on all season long. Thanks for coming on board. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Thank you. Anthony Helkias II, lead writer on SteelerNation.com, writing about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can check his stuff out at SteelerNation.com. They're on X. They're on Instagram, Facebook. You can see them all over at SteelerNation.com. This is Steel City Sunday. If you're joining us here on X or Facebook or YouTube, thanks for coming on board. We're approaching 2,000 on X right now, buddy. I tell you, it's the Jick Jack effect. As soon as he pops in, please let's get him on, because is he close? He's not in there yet. He'll be in soon. Yeah, he'll be in shortly. I'm excited to talk to Carl. And I call him Jick Jack because that's what he goes by. He's such an interesting character. I just had a chance to, read his website at great length recently, and got a little bit more in depth about him. And he is something else, to say the least. You're going to really like him if you're a sports bettor. If you like to wager, as the great late Bruce Kyden used to say, a chocolate chip cookie or two. This guy has good information from the book's perspective. And, when you can look at things from the book's perspective, you've got a better chance, right? Because a lot of people are emotional bettors, right? You see what's hot on all the Fanatics, FanDuel, BetMGM. They're all touting the 4-leg, 5-leg, 6-leg parlays, right? There was some guy, Cody Brown Bets on X, who had a 12-leg parlay last week that hit, and I think it cost DK like $20 million. Okay, he had a 12-leg money line parlay that hit. Now those are lottos, and you don't play those for more than $1, right? You know what I mean? Like I don't have a bankroll, so I can't bet straight. If you're going to bet on games, you want to bet straight, and you don't want to bet parlays. I bet parlays because I've been gambling for 40 years, and I hit them. I hit enough where I'm plus EV. I hit 2 in August, and I'm up. Like, even though I've lost probably $40 or $50 a weekend over the last 5 weekends, 6 weekends, I'm still up for the year. But I'm a seasoned gambler, and I kind of know. I try to know what I'm looking for. Let's get Jick Jack in here now. I'm telling you, this is why our audience is so big. I was in Mississippi a couple weeks ago for business, and I'm on X, and this guy named Jick Jack comes across my timeline, and I'm driving up 10. Jick Jack, I'm like racing to New Orleans so I can get down to Bourbon Street because I'd never been there, right? And you show up in my timeline, and I'm like, I'm just watching you, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy, he understands. And as it turns out, you're a former odds maker at the Mirage, are you not, sir? Welcome to Steel City Sunday, by the way.
Hey, what's up? Yes, yeah, and it's certainly been just a whirlwind of the last 3 weeks, I would say, with my account for whatever reason. I mean, we've been running good. We have a concept that we stick to. It's most people don't understand it. So we're excited, and we're growing and growing, and look, I pardon the setup. I'm actually in the most quiet spot in my house. I've got grandkids running around.
I love it.
We do the best that we can, but we're excited to be here and be on your show.
And you're a native of Louisiana, correct?
Yes.
But you're living in Biloxi now.
That's right.
Okay, so you had a professional career. I believe you were a scratch golfer, or a damn good golfer, were you not, throughout your early days, right? You still golf a little bit, I would imagine, correct?
Well, that's way before all this turned white. I was a young man, but I was a good player. I tried to play professionally for about 4 years. Didn't have the work ethic. I did just about everything that you could do wrong back then. So we learned from it, and we ended up staying involved in sports, which is what we wanted to do as a young kid.
Yeah, I learned a little bit about your website. I went to your website and spent some time. I believe you worked in the golf industry, or you worked for counties and working in that area. And then when you retired, you got the itch to go to Las Vegas and work in a sports book. How was that transition for you? How did that all happen for you?
Really a lifetime of being involved in sports betting. I've been betting sports for my whole life, and I had a lot of friends out there, and look, I got my time in with the city there, and I said, you know what, I'm moving to Nevada, and so that's what I did. Got into it, and was able to make a really nice long second career. Let me just say that the website, I don't even deal with it right now. It's something that I've got sitting. It's sitting there. You can go look at it, but I haven't done a whole lot to it. But there is future plans for that.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great because I think you're fascinating because you're a pragmatic in terms of these giant billion-dollar buildings didn't build themselves. They were built on the backs of gamblers who come in and think they're going to win, and they're not. So you take this approach and say, hey, emotion has to be left to the side. Here's the data. That's what I like about you.
Yeah.
When books are setting lines, can you take us through that? Because it's changed. Like, you were in Vegas how long ago? When was your last year working at the Mirage or for the book, for a book?
Yeah, so I transferred out of the Mirage when sports betting became legal here in Mississippi. So
Okay.
that was 2018.
Okay.
2018.
Yeah, okay. So you came in. Talk about the transition from Vegas to Mississippi. I didn't get a whole lot of time in Biloxi. I did get a little bit more in Mobile, but I know it's big in Mississippi with the casinos and the gambling. Can you talk about what you've seen in terms of how books set odds? Because that has changed dramatically.
Yeah, back in the old days, you only had just a few books setting the odds, just a few originators, and then everybody moved off that number, and that's kind of what they do nowadays with the technology. I mean, you got some companies that are using an algorithm. It just depends, but there's still a couple of really good originators out there. The smaller setups, they'll tend to open with say one of the bigger companies' numbers, and then they move from there. So it's all just a little bit different. It can be complicated, at times, but yeah, it works just like the stock market, basically. I mean, you're just watching the money flow and the numbers move.
We're talking to Carl Jick Jack Johnson. You can check him out on X at Jick Jack Johnson, JICJAC Johnson. Just a wealth of inside information and knowledge, trying to give you a look at what the book needs are. And that's what I've really enjoyed, is your book needs. And I've gotten involved in a few conversations with people on your feed. Oh, explain this to me, or what am I? You got to figure it out. Like, that's what the books love. They want to hear that. They're like, I don't understand this. I'm going to put $100 on it. You should want to understand. And that's what I tried to get in there and say to a few people, try to understand before you put your money up. It's not about, oh, I think this team's going to win because they wear red, or they've got the hot quarterback. The book needs. I love that about you. Talk about book needs and how that genesis has been important for what you're giving out in terms of information.
Yeah, so to be honest, and you've been around our page enough to know, I'll be the first to admit, I have to write teams down during the week that I've been tracking all week, that when I write them down, I go, oh my God. But that's just the way it works. And I think that's why we're so successful, is that this is not my opinion. Believe me, I have different opinions about some of these games, but it's the concept. And most people walk into the sports book and they have this mentality that, oh, it's me against the sports book. Look, you're not going to beat that sports book in the long run. It's not going to happen. So
right.
Why not? My thought process is, why can't I get a bunch of people to say, let's walk into the sports book and let's find out what they need to make money, and let's get on it. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and you're using, obviously, software that most people don't get. I know you give a little peek. You said something about your grandson, the little tweet, the picture. He's watching the lights and the numbers, and he's going to be ahead of things. You're right, and you're lucky to have that sort of information, because that stuff is valuable. And if you just follow that over the long term, you're going to win money. You're going to win money.
That's right. That's the whole object, is to try to take your opinion, because let's face it, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but the majority of the people that come in a sports book that pick a side, they're it's no good. The sports book, they don't get to pick a side. They have to take the teams that you don't want. And right. So think about that. And I know you're fighting the $1.10 juice, but right. Look, the sports books, they win these big games, and that's what we try to do. That's what we try to exploit.
Let's and I want to get into this particular part of it, because it is interesting to me. I saw that your feelings are Steelers minus 5.5, and it just for giggles, Tulsa plus 16.5. Public with sharp money. It's P with S. That's your favorite, correct? That's the ones that you really like the most.
I feel that's our strongest position is when we're versus the public and we have sharp money with us on our side. Now there are times where like tonight the public's actually split. This Pittsburgh handle, I've been watching it all day. In several books that I respect, it's flipped from Pittsburgh led the handle just about all day, and then late this afternoon that Cincinnati money took over the handle. So and that's what made the need, because I'll be honest with you, when I woke up today at I got moving around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. The book need was just the opposite. I was thinking that the play probably tonight was going to be Cincinnati, but I seen a couple of things in the pattern that I went, hold up. This is looking like it might flip. Sure enough, it flipped in a couple of books, like I said, that are respected by me. And it's going to be interesting. Now we got a little ways until kickoff, and I threw out there 5.5 because that's the number when I make the post. Unfortunately, trying to get this to 10. I think we got almost 10,000 people following us right now. And if we're trying to get that out, I've got to get it out earlier than say I would normally if it was just for me, because I think actually if that flow stays the same, I think we'll be able to get Pittsburgh at like minus 4.5, instead of 5.5. So that's what I'm thinking. And the sharp side, we do have the sharp side with us on the Steelers.
I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyhow. Is it ever, or do you ever parlay games? Are you occasionally a parlay guy, maybe 2 legs or 3 legs max? Just curious.
I don't ever go over 3.
Okay.
And I don't put anything serious on it.
Yeah.
But the times where you'll see me make a parlay is like if one of the teams that I'm like, if I'm having to lay like $1.65 in juice, I'll put it with another team to knock that down, and it pays better,
Yeah, absolutely. Carl Jick Jack Johnson, former odds maker out in Las Vegas, retired but still doing yeoman's work for the public on X at Jick Jack Johnson, JICJAC Johnson. Great follow on X. If you're a degenerate gambler who likes to wager, somebody who you want to be looking at. Let's talk about the expansion of national sports betting, and I want to talk about VIG, okay? Now, competition usually drives books to be rarely competitive, but when I look at some of these odds, Jick Jack, it's mind-numbing how egregious the books treat the public with the numbers that they offer, the spreads. Can you talk a little bit about that and why they're able to get away with it?
Yeah, well, so let me say this. I will say that there are some maybe it's not all the books' faults, because there's some jurisdictions out there that have, brought sports betting in there, and they're taxing them differently. Okay. So, Mississippi is one of the states that actually followed the Nevada's structure, and so we're okay. But there's some states that are just being taxed brutally, and I guess that's the deal they had to cut to get into the New Yorks and
New Jersey, the big markets.
So some of that is just it's brutal, and what we know is standard is like minus $1.10. You'll see some of these places that are having to juice it a little bit just to cover that aspect of it. So that's kind of what's going on, and that's that political stuff I stay out of, but that's some of the reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, I look at and again, I have a couple apps. There's 20 of them here in Pennsylvania, but I mean, I look at. I will say a FanDuel. It depends on the game. Like Jacksonville and the Rams in. I forget if that's in London or not. On Sunday, you can play the Jaguars +3, but they're 115.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take the Rams, they're at 105, but you're going to pay a little bit more in that. I've seen 120. That juice. And of course, they want even they want an equal handle on both sides and collect the vig. I've also seen numbers, Carl, where, for decades in Vegas, the handle was about 5%. That was always, 4 or 5% was a pretty good number for them. And for those that are listening in and aren't sure what the hell I'm talking about, the handle's basically the profit, right? That's their profit margin, what they're making, correct?
Yeah, and so look, what you're seeing on as far as the juice and stuff like that. So like in the old days, everything was minus 110. And
right.
You either moved, if the sharps bet the number at 2, it just went to 2.5.
Right.
So, but what you're seeing now with some of these juices is that and a guy by the name of Robert Walker is the guy that came up and started putting the juice inside the steps of the movement. And so instead of moving a game from 2 to 2.5, what he'll do is he'll leave it at 2 for you for the next guy, but he's going to charge you, rather than $1.10, he's going to charge you a dime for it. He's going to move it to $1.20.
Yeah, if you're going to increase the vig on it. Yeah, no, and that's why the handle. I saw a report a couple weeks ago where the handle for FanDuel and DK, DraftKings, is approaching 18-20%. 18 to 20%.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Now, I would imagine a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're pushing the parlays, right? They push the parlays.
And that's what most people don't realize is that, 80 some odd percent of the people that walk up to the counter in a sports book, they play a parlay. I mean, that's the method of betting. Yeah. So and the holds on those things are extremely high. And to be honest with you, let's just say that a 5-teamer pays 20 to 1 if you're using points.
Right.
And all the places are a little bit different. But the reality of it is that 5-teamer should probably pay like 28 to 1. So they're only having to pay 20 to 1. So it's a math thing, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to get my guys to believe in. You're not going to beat the sports book. They got the math is just it's too much against you. So why not join them?
I totally agree with you. Just a couple more minutes with Carl Jick Jack Johnson, retired odds maker, bookmaker, worked for the Mirage Group in Las Vegas, is retired and lives in Biloxi, Mississippi. Great follow on X at Jick Jack Johnson. I know it's early, and I know you do daily reports. Anything on Sunday that piques your interest, I should ask?
So earlier today we did put out the sharp report for NFL. And look, I know I don't throw opinions into the bets that we put out there, but I've been feeling for several weeks that we were due a chalk week. So, and one of the things that I had in my mind this week was that when I went over my stuff, I was going to try to protect against that and try to limit our liability as much as I could. For instance, Kansas City minus 10.5. That's what the sharps hit. That number's up a little bit. But ordinarily I probably wouldn't lay that many points, but I'm thinking about, if that works out to be a play for us, I'm not going to be scared to write it down. Dallas plus 2.5. To be honest with you, when I first looked at the number that came out, I like Dallas to win the game. Just things like that. But I try to keep my opinion out of it as much as possible.
Carl, I can't thank you enough for coming on board. Really, I'm sorry we missed you last week. I tried to do a live remote. It was a disaster. I'll be better next time. You hung in there with me, and it means a great deal. Our show is so brand new that people don't know about us. But I'm looking at our X page right now. X has been our best friends so far. Over 2,200 people are hanging out right now, and I think that's the Jick Jack effect for you coming on, my friend. Thank you so much. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I've got a parlay card I'm going to send to you next week to fill out so we can hit a parlay card like it was back in the good old days.
Well, I appreciate that. And look, none of this would be possible without the guys that back me up at WinWorks. Yep. I mean, they're just, I partnered with these guys. An old guy like me, I have it right here what I like, and
Right.
those guys have they know how to build stuff, and they know how to think through the process of stuff I don't know. So I love it.
Give their website again, just in case anybody's new and listening.
Yeah, so they're at WinWorks Gaming. WinWorks Gaming. Just give us both a follow. But that's my partner, and that I just love the situation. We're brand new to each other. There's no telling where we can go.
Awesome, Carl. Thank you so much. You're doing really the Lord's work, and I urge anybody to learn so that you can follow and understand what the man's trying to do. He's trying to help and take emotion out of it and show you exactly where the book needs are in terms of who they need to win. It's great work what you're doing, Carl. Thank you so much, and thanks for coming on board with us.
You got it. And look, I can say tonight, go Pittsburgh.
There you go. Jick Jack, you're the man. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right, man.
All right, Carl Jick Jack Johnson, what an absolute legend. I'm telling you, I'm driving around Mississippi for the first time, and I'm like trying to get to New Orleans, and I'm like an idiot. I'm like looking on my phone because I'm bored, and I was kind of at a standstill where I was at, and this guy Jick Jack is like talking about odds and things like that. I'm like, who's this Jick Jack? And then when I got back to my hotel in New Orleans, I went back and I looked at him because I had bookmarked something that he had said, because my phone gets busy during the day. Of course, I'm a construction magnate and a crypto millionaire, folks. I'm always going to be busy on the phone. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is so sharp, and he's like trying to help people. And these people that are on his page are like, well, I don't understand this. And I'm jumping in. I'm like, well, it's your job to learn. Right? If you don't understand what he's trying to say, learn.
Yeah.
And you'll get a better understanding of what he's trying to say, so that when you wager your money, you got a better chance of not giving it to the book.
Right.
Because nobody wants to. Bill does not gamble, and just in case you're wondering, I'm trying to turn him into a degenerate gambler, but he's resisted so far. As we're at 2,300 people on our X account following us, and we're so thank you. You can join us. We still have another hour of pregame show ahead of us. We're going to be getting Paul Zeiss in just a few minutes. Paul Zeiss of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette joins us in our pregame shows. We'll be talking with him in a few minutes. This is Steel City Sunday here, live from the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. We are also sponsored by Arch Masonry and Restoration. They are hiring here in Pittsburgh, where they are looking for brick masons, block masons, concrete finishers. They are looking for construction laborers. And if you have no experience, that's okay. They can teach you on the job. They have advancement programs and classes that can jumpstart your career in the building trades. Folks, I've been working with Arch Masonry for a decade. I understand the construction industry, and I'm telling you right now, they care about their employees, and they always have work. 412-564-5733 is their number. Questions, call them or visit their website, archmasonryinc.com, to learn more. It is Steel City Sunday here from the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. I also should thank the good folks at It's a Wrap Sports. We cannot put this show on the air without them. They cater to a more Eastern Pennsylvania audience. They cater towards Penn State. We help them balance things out by giving them a little Steelers flavor. Matty B, Al, who else over there? Who am I forgetting?
Mike Lauro. I mean, we got the wraparound with
Pat Bernard, great guy, social media maven. All these are shows that if you're just tuning in and you're like, oh, I want to hear about the Nittany Lions. I want to hear about the Phillies. I want to hear about the Flyers, the Eagles. You can check some of these shows out. They cover all the sports. Of course, they have MLS in Philadelphia. Pat Bernard covers Major League Soccer and Villanova Athletics. for which newspaper is he at again? I forget which newspaper he's at again.
Well, he does it for Stream Punk Sports.
Stream Punks. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but he's written for newspapers, of course. Mike Lauro has been busy with the Penn State stuff that's been going on. That's the Penn State Happy Valley Huddle Show. That's our friends at It's a Wrap Sports. Go check them out. Matty B has a nightly show, The Final Word with Matty B. He's our rock. He helps us get on the air every week. We can't thank them enough. And, they are from Philadelphia, but that's okay. Someone send Paul Zeiss the link. We will do that for you here in just a moment, Paul. Paul Zeiss will be joining us here in just a few moments. It is Steel City Sunday. Can you get Paul? Thank you very much, Paul. You'll be getting that here in just a moment, and then we'll get Paul on for about a half an hour, and we'll wrap up around 1:45 and get you ready because you need a little bit of extra time to get ready for the Steelers and Bengals. I'm not really sure how I'm going this way in this game. I am going to waste $10 on a parlay like I always do. I'm probably going to bet on the Steelers because Jick Jack's saying that's the way it looks like. You got sharp money, maybe the public split, maybe that line will go down just a little bit as he's hoping. It's still 5.5 on FanDuel right now. I have not had a chance to look at some of the other sites just because I am doing a live broadcast. And, hey, folks, you're checking us out. We're going to do our best to make sure you're entertained and keep you around a little bit longer. Now, I tell you, the audience has just grown over the first 2 hours. It's awesome that we're, it doesn't matter if it's 40 or 50 people or 2,000 or 3,000 people. We're going to grow this thing. This is only our 6th show. And I'm just telling you, I have the will of 10 men. I have put my mind to this. I literally got this show together within a week of the regular season, and we have quickly built not just an audience, but we have built a lineup that I'm so thrilled to say that we have a former NFL head coach that comes on our show every week now. We have a writer from a major daily newspaper, Paul Zeiss, who has been a broadcast veteran as well of sports talk radio in this city, a guy who wrote for a major daily newspaper for 40 years. We have young names that are covering sports here in Pittsburgh. We've got a national guy in Zig Fracassi who covers the NFL for Sirius XM's NFL radio. Zig's not on the show tonight because he's working, but that's just the tip of the iceberg for us, I think. Our post-game show with John Fedko, TV legend here in Pittsburgh. We've got Bill Akins. Billy does a great job. I can't get on the air without him. I'm just here trying to navigate traffic and stay out of the way, people. Every once in a while, I might say something that's entertaining and fun. We want you to stick around. We've been able to hold our audience and just grow through the first 2 hours, and that's thrilling to say the very least. So just hang out with us for another 45 minutes or so. We're going to get Paul Zeiss in here momentarily. Once Paul's on board, we'll bring him in. We'll get his perspective on the game tonight. Steelers and Cincinnati Bengals on the newest Steelers pregame show that there's only a handful. You got the Steelers Network, you got the Fan, and us. So, and I have great respect for the guys over at the Fan because I worked there for 6 years when the station first came on, and I was part of those post-game shows for many years. It's thrilling to be able to do this again. I can't tell you how much we love talking about the Steelers, and I miss talking about the Steelers. For 9 years, I was, out of the business, and now I've just thrown myself in here, and I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled at where we're at after just 6 weeks, and the fact that you folks are tuning in and checking things out are great. Excellent. All right, just bring them on. Bring Paul Zeiss on. There he is. How you feeling this week, Paul? How you doing?
I'm doing better. I'm doing much better. That's for sure.
I told this story. My wife was like, she was like, I heard Paul something. I'm like, it was like a scene out of like an old. It was like, who was it? Who was it that for the Knicks that came off the bench in the 1970s? You were like Willis Reed last week, Paul. You know what I mean? I was like, she was like, who's Willis Reed? I'm like, forget about it.
Right.
I mean, thanks for doing that, and we appreciate you coming on board. I know you've been filling in for Mark Madden and doing a fantastic job there, as always. Steelers and Bengals. Paul, we're 5 weeks in. This is week 7, technically, week 6 for the Steelers. I mean, how shocked are you that they have a chance to be 3.5 games up in the AFC North with a win tonight?
Not really shocked about their record. I mean,
Okay.
it is what it is. They beat the Browns. I kind of thought they would. The Patriots. I figured they'd lose to either Seattle or Minnesota. But I am shocked at what's going on with the rest of the team in the AFC. If you think about it, I mean, that's where the shock comes. I'm shocked that the Ravens are terrible. Shocked that the Bengals have, obviously without Joe Burrow, not been very good. Shocked that the Bills can't seem to play, can't seem to win games anymore. The Bills seem to have a bad run defense. There's a lot of things that are going on with them. I mean, the more I think about what's going on in the AFC, that's where I'm really shocked. Is there's just so many teams that are bad right now.
Yeah, they are bad. Does he need the sign moved? He doesn't need to sign me. We can move it for him if we need to. Just if we need to. Why don't you just take it down for him? Sorry, we got a trivia guy here. We want to make sure we're taking care. We're trying to share some space here up at North Park Lounge, Richland. Yeah, look, they've beaten the teams that they have been put in front of them, and that's all you can ask of them. I don't ask how good or bad they are anymore. Did you get a W? That's the main thing. Look, Aaron Rodgers has been the secret sauce that they've been missing the last 3 years. I don't think there's any question about that. 70% completion percentage through 5 games, 10 touchdowns, just a couple of picks. You can't ask for any more.
No, I mean, I think that's what you wanted to do when you brought in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, that to me is what it comes down to. You've got a guy who clearly, in so many ways, has been everything they wanted him to be. He's a veteran guy. I looked it up today. He started 246 NFL games.
Wow.
In his career. He knows what he's doing. He knows, where to throw the ball. He knows how not to get into bad situations. He knows how to make sure that if, for instance, the play isn't there, he's not like some of the other guys that they've had in the past who try and force stuff. He's willing to throw the ball away. He understands probably some of his arm limitations right now. He's playing to his strengths. I said this before. I'll say it again. He's clearly their MVP. And he's the guy that you have to keep upright for the entire season. They're not as good. They're not as good with any of their other quarterbacks as they are with Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, Paul, I have a question. Do people need to be a little bit more patient with this offensive line? I mean, you look at last week. I mean, no sacks on Aaron Rodgers. It seems like every week they're just getting better and better each week. I think and they need to be more patient with this line, I think.
Well, I think people are actually being a little bit patient. If most people understand the line has 4 guys in their first or second year, they basically have, guys that are out, playing up the position for the first time. They have guys who are basically, just sort of getting their feet wet a little bit in the NFL. So every week we talked about him less. We talked about Broderick Jones less and less, and the less we talk about him, the more it probably means that they're doing well.
Yeah,
We've got Paul Zeiss from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette joining us, longtime writer here in Pittsburgh. You can hear him filling in at Mark Madden on 105.9 The X. You got your streams. I like watching your streams from the PG. They've got you doing shows over there. Are you doing any TV? Have you been on any of the Sunday night shows lately at all by any chance?
Not for a while. Not for
Okay,
a while.
all right.
I can't do it all. I got,
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, that's right. You gotta take a little break sometime, I would imagine.
Right.
That's certainly for sure. So can this defense they're facing tonight, terrible. 31st in the league, total defense, 28th against the run, 31st against the pass. I've asked a couple guys this tonight. I'll ask you, can Jaylen Warren sniff 80 yards, 90 yards tonight? Can he get to to 100 yards, maybe, dare I say 100 yards against this porous defense he's going to face?
Well, I mean, I think he's going to get the opportunity to do that. I think that, the Bengals are bad on defense. Apparently their best defensive lineman now is out. Obviously he's a pass rusher, but I have to believe that he gives them, some support in the run as well. To me, this is a game where the Steelers probably should run for 100, 150 yards. And, if they do, Warren will be a lot of that. It could be a matter of Warren having one or two really long runs or whatever.
Right.
But I feel like he's going to do a really good job tonight running against what you have up front there with the Bengals. And, the other part of it is if the Steelers are able to get to a point where they, have a little bit of a lead, then they'll probably get a really big, large dose of Jaylen Warren.
Paul, do you think maybe they open it up a little bit more tonight? I mean, like you said, this is a bad defense. I mean, when you look at it, they were atrocious last year. You bring Al Golden here, or there. They're a little bit better. I think they're a bad defense. But I think maybe, hey, you maybe exploit some things through the air. They're out their number one pass rusher. So I think you open up an offense a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, but again, I think that one of the things the Steelers have done well this year is try and play very smart and try and play in a way that they don't give their opponents short fields and don't put their defense in bad situations. I mean, they've banked on the fact that they don't believe anybody is going to be able to consistently go 70, 80, 90 yards against their defense. So, while I think they might open it up a little bit and throw the ball down there, or throw the ball around a little bit, because, again, the Bengals defense is bad. I mean, I think they're 31st against the pass, 31st total defense, 31st in rushing defense, and 30th in scoring defense. Other than that, they're pretty good. But what you don't want is to make mistakes. You don't want to be in a place where you make mistakes and give them life. A couple of ill-advised throws or a couple of, strip sacks or whatever, and they get the ball in plus territory. Next thing you know, you're giving them some points that they didn't really earn. I mean, their goal is very simple, and that is they are going to try and make teams go 80 yards against their defense. And they're going to bet that at some point in those 80 yards, their defense is going to make a play that's going to, basically stop the drive.
Who's going to get Jamar Chase tonight? Who do you see? I mean, is it Joey? Is it? It's not going to be Joey Porter Jr., is it? Do you see Jalen Ramsey? Who's going to get him? I mean, he's a problem. If they give Flacco any kind of time, any kind of pass protect, you got to believe he's going to be looking for him.
Well, you didn't bring Jalen Ramsey here to be the second guy,
right?
I mean, you just didn't. So to me, I think it's probably going to be him with some help, probably from some of the safeties and some different kinds of coverages, because you can really do a great job on Jamar Chase and you can still make plays. The flip side of that is, I think you are going to have him on Jamar Chase, and you'll have Joey Porter on T. Higgins.
Okay.
And so to me, you can mix some things up with your safeties, and you can add a guy like Darius Slay into the mix, even on do some nickel, even if, whatever. But you didn't bring Jalen Ramsey here not to be your guy. I mean, I think he's your guy. I think he's the guy that you're basically going to say, you are going to take this guy and this guy next week and this guy and Joey Porter Jr. I think is probably better suited as the number 2 guy. I think he's a reasonably good player, but I think, he's probably better suited to be the guy who takes the number 2 receiver on the other team. And here's the thing, T. Higgins is about 6'4", 225, physical player. I mean, that's the kind of guy you want Joey Porter to sort of manhandle, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Without a question. Look, defensively, they've been very, very good the last 3 weeks. And again, say what you want about the competition, right? New England has now worked themselves up to 3-2. Okay, Minnesota, they've hit a bit of a patch. Obviously, they lost their starting quarterback. They're trying to figure things out, and the Browns are just the freaking Browns, and they're never going to change. So, given the fact that Cincinnati is making this trade to bring Joe Flacco in, and we'll get to Tomlin's comments about it in a moment, I don't think Cincinnati has said that the season's over, right? Zach Taylor, and this leads to what I wanted to get to you. If they lose tonight, if they get beat handily, is this Zach Taylor's swan song? We've already seen one head coach in the NFL get jettisoned from his job last week. Is this Zach Taylor's Waterloo if they lose today?
No, I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it. I mean, how do they're going to fire a guy with Joe Burrow on the sidelines. I mean, it's really difficult. And I thought he did a good job last year of keeping that team together despite all the injuries they had and all the issues they had. He kept them together and they were in the playoff hunt till the end. I don't think that would be the issue the other part of it is, it's so early still kind of in the season. Teams are trying to figure out who they are. I mean, they're starting to, but, we bring up New England. I think that's the third youngest roster in the NFL.
Okay.
I think you've got a team. I think you've got a team with basically a rookie, second-year type starting quarterback who's really starting to figure it out. So that's the kind of team at the end of the year you probably don't want to face. I think that's the kind of team that's only going to get better and better. Mike Vrabel obviously is putting his stamp on that team. That's the kind of team that I think you look at and say, boy, I'm glad we got them, the first, second, or third week or whatever it was that they got a chance to play. But you just got to continue to play and go forward. You can't control injuries. You can't control a lot of other variables. But if you show up every week, and here's the thing, John, if they win tonight, they will have a 4-game lead against every other team in the AFC North.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a huge difference. Between if they lose, there'll only be 2 games up on Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, huge, absolutely, and especially with Baltimore in the bye week. I want to get your thoughts on this. Let's say the Steelers win today. You got Baltimore's on the bye week. They're expecting Lamar Jackson to come back. If you're Lamar Jackson and the Steelers have this 3.5 game lead, do you hold back a week on him? Are you too far back? Because you're 4.5 back at that point. Is there still plenty of season left if you're Baltimore to get Jackson back and try to get back into this thing?
Well, if you're looking at really realistically, Baltimore really needs to win a game for sure. Yeah. There's no question about it. They really need to win a game, but there's wild card considerations. There's some teams in the wild card race that are going to fall back. It's one of those things where if they can get Lamar Jackson back, they can get on a run where they they win 4 or 5 games in a row, no question about it.
Right.
They've got to fix some things on their defense. I can't see, though, how they would slow play him if he's ready to play. They're going to have him out there because they need to win. And here's the other thing. You talk about coaches on the hot seat. I believe that John Harbaugh probably is on the hot seat. Probably needs to, get to the playoffs and win a playoff game to keep his job.
I agree with you. I'm fully in agreement there. By the way, the Ravens are sitting in the 12th spot in the AFC. They're only 1 game behind Texas, the Bengals, and the Raiders, and 2 behind the Chiefs, who are actually in the 8th spot. They're out of the playoffs right now. See, I think there is plenty of time. I don't think they would slow walk anything if the Steelers win today. They've got the week off. They want to. The Bengals are obviously, would not gain any ground. They would actually lose ground to Baltimore. I forget who the Raiders are playing. I'd go back and take a peek at that. I know they're at Kansas City on Sunday, so they probably don't lose much ground possibly this weekend. They get a healthy Lamar Jackson back, and then you see where things go at that point in time. Paul Zeiss of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette joining us here on Steel City Sunday. Brought to you by Arch Masonry and Restoration. Looking for brick masons, block masons, concrete finishers, and construction laborers. Call them 412-564-5733 or visit them on the web at archmasonryinc.com. And even if you don't have any experience as a bricklayer, Paul, they'll teach you. They'll teach you how to lay block. I can see you laying double 12s. You'd probably be like, you're not laying any double 12s, are you?
No, I'm not doing that for sure. I'm too old for that. That's for sure.
You know, in my very first year working with Arch, I was in Fort Myers, Florida. This is a true story. They were on a Walmart job. This is the first big job I was on. I had like 25 people working for them, and I had to climb a 40-foot retaining wall and go up and get to my people. I had to climb that thing. I'm going to tell you, I was in my 40s, so it wasn't so bad, but it was not a fun afternoon for me in that Florida heat.
No, I have no desire to do that. That's for sure. I'm getting too old to carry bricks.
Yeah, I am too. I carried a couple last weekend in that disaster of a remote that I put us on. But hey, we're moving forward. Let's get into a little bit about this defense. Derek Harmon finally comes back from injury. Nick Herbig takes over for an injured Alex Highsmith. And then a couple weeks later, you get your full complementary roster of your starters on defense that you projected at the beginning of the year. Defensively, how do you continue to see this playing out with Herbig and Highsmith and Harmon's impact when it's done, allowed T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward to kind of get loose? Give me your thoughts on the defense to this point.
Well, I think that when you have Herbig and you have Highsmith and you have Watt, you have the ability to have fresh guys in the fourth quarter. That's the biggest thing there. You've got the ability to use them in a rotation where, you know, you can make sure that your guys are fresh in the fourth quarter. That's a big part of it. Derek Harmon, they brought him in here basically to be a guy who plugs a hole. And that's what he's done. He's a guy that plugs the hole. And he's a big, wide body. He's strong. He takes on double team blocks. He's basically a guy who is doing everything they're asking him to do against the run. And he's making some plays in the pass game. But the biggest thing with him is because he's able to occupy guys up front, now all of a sudden – you notice Patrick Queen was flying around like a maniac last week. And, you know, the inside linebackers are able to make plays because they don't have those 300-pound linemen coming to the next level to block them. They're running the space. They're running because Derek Harmon is basically eating up a lot of that stuff. So to me, the secondary, obviously, they've got to continue to work to get a little bit better. But that's just a matter of all those guys being healthy and playing together. But the front seven right now really, really looks like it's just starting to find its stride. And, you know, I think that's bad news for the rest of the league. Now, they won't feast this week like they did last week or, Sunday, because Joe Flacco's a savvy veteran quarterback who will get rid of the ball, who will not put himself in, some bad situations. Dylan Gabriel looked like a deer in a headlight. He was a sitting duck back there. They hit him 16 times, which I don't know if I've ever heard of that before. But they're going to get to Flacco a little bit, and they're going to hit him a few times, and we'll see what happens if he can continue to get up. It won't be quite like last week because, again, he'll throw the ball away some. And he won't hold it as long as Dylan Gabriel trying to make plays.
We're talking with Paul Zeise of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette here on Steel City Sunday. We are broadcasting live from the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. We will be here for about another 20 minutes or so. We'll cut the show off about 7:45. Gives you an opportunity to get prepared for the Amazon Prime broadcast locally on Channel 4, of course, on the Steelers Radio Network, if you're so inclined. Getting to this point has been an interesting path, to say the very least. Mike Tomlin, let's talk about Tomlin's troubles on Thursday night primetime games within the division. He's 0-6. He's not. I think he's like 10-12 on the road on short weeks straight up. He has struggled as a favorite going on the road against sub 500 teams. I want to talk about that to begin with, and I want to get to his comments on Monday about the trade. Can they overcome that? Is that just a statistical anomaly to you? Is this a different ball club that can overcome those numbers that Tomlin carries with him?
What did you say? That he's 0-6 on Thursday nights?
He is 0-6 in the division on the road on Thursday night. 0-6 straight up.
How many qualifiers did you have to come out? I mean,
I
get it. But I mean, I'd have to go back when it's a 6-game sample size. I'd have to go back and look at the 6 games that it was, and I have to believe was one of them. I'm trying to think of some of the games that went, but anyway. I don't think that's a factor at all, John.
Okay. Hey,
But, is there something to be said for, well, maybe he's not good at preparing his team on short notice or whatever? I don't know. Look, when you have Thursday night football game and you're on the road, let's face it, you have a game Sunday, right? Monday,
yes.
You got to give the guys off. You have
right.
basically Tuesday and half of Wednesday to put a game plan in, practice,
right.
and go through your walkthroughs, right? And then you're on the plane going to wherever you're going. So it's not easy to do that. I would love to know what the record is for road teams on Thursday night. That would be an interesting sample. You know what I mean? What is the record for road teams on Thursday night football? The other part of it is both teams are really just flying by the seat of their pants. And so really, Thursday night games are usually terrible, number one. Number two, I think the only thing that matters for the Steelers here is that they walk out of this stadium with one more point than the Bengals. Doesn't matter how it looks or what they do or what the style points are or how they get there. Doesn't matter what it looks like. This is the one game, if you play on Thursday night, the only thing that should matter is you get out of the stadium with one more point than your opponent.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, look, and I'm not even trying to attack this from a betting angle standpoint. A W is a W. You want to get the win. Doesn't matter if it's by 1 or 25. That's the key. And again, I'm just citing some numbers here. But I'll tell you what. I will go back this week and I will find over the last 5 years what the prime Thursday night looks like for the road team in terms of just straight up. I'll go take a peek at that. I could probably pull those numbers pretty quickly, actually, for you over the weekend. I'd be curious to see it. I can tell you that prime time, for a number of years, the primetime games were always low scoring to quite a degree where they were running 62, 63% under the Vegas posted total for the games. They were just unders for quite a number of years for whatever reason. And they go in streaks, everything, right, regression to the mean, if you will, when it comes to these sorts of things. I think Tomlin is due for a road win in the division on the road in Thursday nights. This sets up pretty well for them. I don't think this is the same type of team that he's had in the last few years. And I think a lot of that has to do with Aaron Rodgers. I really think a lot of that has to do with, look, they got through that nightmare of Cam Hayward. Just like the whole preseason holdout thing was just, it was a bad taste. They got through it. And then, now they've put together this nice little run. And I think these veterans maybe have a focus that they didn't have, like they haven't had in quite some time since Ben was here. And they do look pretty good. They carry themselves extremely well for the most part. And again, the one loss they had up at the half and tied after 3 quarters and had, Caleb Johnson not made that miscue on the punt. Maybe they're 5-0. Maybe they get it together, right? And what are we even talking about at that point? 4-1 is, to me, is a little bit of a shocker, but maybe these veterans have kind of rallied this team and they have a different focus than they've had in recent years.
We'll see. Again, it's a long season to go.
It is. I agree.
They haven't really had significant injuries yet. I know they've had some guys banged up. They haven't really gone through. Listen, what is 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers going to look like at the end of the season? You know,
Right.
what is even 30-something TJ Watt going to look like at the end of the season? You've got a long way to go in a lot of football, so I don't get caught up too much in the week-to-week stuff, or they have a stretch of 3 or 4 games in a row where they play well. I think this team is pretty good. They've got the AFC. I'm looking at the AFC. I don't know that I see a team that is dominant. I still believe that you have to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, which teams in the AFC haven't been able to do. But it could work out really well for them. But we just sort of got to focus week to week on what's going on.
Yeah, in this league especially for sure, because there's only 17 games. Billy, you wanted to add something? Did you want to add something?
Well, I just was saying that they don't give you an overall record, but they say basically since 2006, road teams have a win rate similar to regular season. They say on average on Thursday night, home teams have won 55% of the time. So they don't actually give you like a breakdown of. They give you a record of by each team, but not like an overall record.
Okay.
So.
There you go.
There you have it.
That's exactly right. How you feeling about Mike Tomlin's comments on Monday about the trade that the Browns made to the Bengals? I was surprised to see that side of Tomlin come out. What are your thoughts?
He usually doesn't go there, does he?
No, he doesn't. Not at all.
But I think Mike Tomlin, I don't know if he is right now, but he has served on the competition committee at times. I think that was his way of letting it out there that he's wondering what the motivation for that trade was. What were the motives for that trade? He obviously, there's nothing you can do about it, but I think he was letting it out there that, you know what? Why would you want to trade Joe Flacco to the Bengals? They need a quarterback. You're trying to get out of the basement. What are we doing here?
Right.
That being said, it's kind of silly because they could have played Joe Flacco on Sunday, and I guarantee you that game would have been different. I'm not saying the Browns would have won, but if they had Joe Flacco back there instead of that wide-eyed kid that they put out there, I forget what, Dylan Gabriel or whatever the hell his name is, that guy. You know what I mean? If it's Joe Flacco there, it's a tougher game. And to be honest, if you ask me in a 2-week period, would you rather face Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco or Joe Flacco and Jake Browning? Well, obviously, I'd rather Dylan Gabriel's by far the worst of those guys, A. And B, I mean, Jake Browning has proven at times, not this year, but at times that he can be really good and get hot and throw for a bunch of yards. So to me, you probably got an easier 2-game stretch by them making that trade. So I don't know why you're upset. I think the thing that bothered him is just the sense of fairness and competition. That's the big thing.
Yeah, very, very different side of Mike Tomlin on Monday. And whoever asked the question, good on them, because they got a viral response. Like, it was very much the talk of football for 24 hours. And I mean, we're talking about it 3 days later, mostly because we're a live pregame show. But I was not a little surprised. I was a lot surprised that he would reveal that publicly. But, to his credit, he got it off his chest. He probably felt better about it. And, they've certainly moved on from it. I'll be curious to see how much longer we have to wait to see Shedeur Sanders. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think honestly, if it's up to the coach, it'll be forever, because it just seems like the coach doesn't want to play him. But I mean, at some point, maybe the bosses get on the coach and say, you got to play him. I mean, the thing they're trying to basically say here is that Dylan Gabriel is not to blame. That really they have surrounded him with a bad offensive line, mediocre receivers, really, if you look at it.
Right.
Running game that's just kind of And, he stood in there and he's done some good things. But to me, I just don't understand what they're trying to accomplish at quarterback. And quite frankly, you should not want to give up on Dylan Gabriel yet. I mean, because he's your rookie. I mean, so I mean, will we see Shedeur Sanders? It's possible. But I think if Dylan Gabriel keeps, showing that he can move the team a little bit and, make some plays like he did on Sunday, they're probably going to keep running them out there.
Yeah, probably. I think Sanders sees the field before November. That's just my opinion. Couple more minutes with Paul, and we're going to let you go. I just think he's going to. He may see some playing time on Sunday. Like I know they're a slight favorite at home against Miami, but if for some reason the Dolphins get up and Gabriel's not getting it done, I can see Sanders coming. Did you see his brother, Shedeur Sanders' brother? Did you see what he did outside of Acrisure after the game on Sunday? Did you see that?
No, I didn't know what happened.
He was pretending to be Shedeur Sanders with Steeler fans, and they were coming up to him, and he's signing autographs, and they were like, "Oh, you should be playing." He's like, "Oh, yeah."
Oh, boy.
I just saw that the other day. I thought it was actually pretty funny because he kind of looks like his brother. I thought he kind of looks like his brother. He had sunglasses on and a hat, and maybe had similar hair. About as tall as him.
He kind of looked. I mean,
a little bit, not a whole lot. But you put he had shades on, and he had a hat. He had hair similar, and he's about similar build. Half drunk Yinzers are like, Shedeur, you should be in there.
that's kind of funny to me.
It is actually funny.
One time, I remember I was somewhere, I forget where I was at, and there was a bunch of people, and a couple people came up to me and asked me, this was way back in the 90s or early 80s, late 80s, early 90s. A couple of people came up to me and asked me if I was Rod Woodson. Even though I'm 6'4",
are you serious?
Yeah, even though I'm 6'4" and he's like 6 foot tall.
I know.
So maybe and they started grabbing footballs and signing them. Next thing you know, all these people are coming. So one guy was like, "That's not Rod Woodson." I was like, "What are you talking about?" So I signed a bunch of autographs, and it's funny. I don't know, maybe about 2 or 3 months later, I actually ran into Rod Woodson, and I was telling him about it, and he was laughing. He's like, "Well, at least you didn't do something, that would have got you on the news. Then all of a sudden, my name would have been in the news for doing something crazy."
All right, quick prediction on the game tonight, and I'm going to let you go.
I mean, I think the Steelers will win. I mean, I feel like the 5.5, if we're going to go that route, I think it's going to be a safe 5.5. I think it's going to be a pretty safe cover. I could see them winning by about 10. And I think, honestly, it won't shock me if the game goes over, John. It's 45.5, I think, 46. I mean, I could see this being a game where the Steelers win 27 to, 20, say 28 to 21 or something like that. I mean, I could see it going over, 28 to 20. The Steelers cover and, it goes over. I feel like they're going to make a few plays on offense, and I'm talking about Flacco and Higgins and Chase. But the question becomes, how many? That's why I think the Steelers win. They'll hold the ball. They'll run the ball, I think, with authority. And, they'll finish some drives, and it'll be a pretty big Steeler win.
Paul Zeise of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, regular contributor to Steel City Sunday. Paul, I can't thank you enough, buddy. You're the best.
All right, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
And by the way, John Fedko absolutely loves you and just can't speak enough highly. He said, he's like, when am I going to work with Zeise? I got to get on with him. I said, well, I get that figured out here soon enough.
All right. We'll do that.
Thanks, Paul.
All right. We'll see you.
All right, Paul Zeise, such a great guy, such a knowledgeable, just a well of knowledge.
Yeah, definitely.
A deep well.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And,
he is.
He's one of the good people in the media. There are some wretched human beings working in this business. And I'm sometimes one of them, but Paul is not. And, again, I know we've got a nice audience that we're going to be losing here soon on X. We got some people watching us on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for checking us out tonight. The fact that I'm able to work with Paul again, the fact that I'm able to work with John Fedko again, the fact that I can work with Jerry DePaula again, Mike Ostie, Anthony Halkeas, Todd Haley, you, Billy, That's why we're putting this together. That's why I've put the effort to get this together. The folks at North Park Lounge Richland and the Hilltop Event Center, I can't thank Mark Baranowski enough. I can't thank Arch Masonry and Restoration enough. And I anticipate we'll be adding some more sponsors here real soon. We can't do this without people like them. We can't do it without the people that are tuning in right now. I mean, we're pushing 2,700 people live on X right now, and I've been sharing this with Andrew Filipponi, and he's like, hey, man, that's awesome. And, it's a new venture, and we can't do it without good folks who are going to give us an opportunity to entertain you and inform you, and hopefully you enjoy it. You follow. Hit me that sign real quick. Before you go, before we break off the air, like and subscribe, folks. Like and subscribe. All the socials at Steel City Sunday. We're on all of them. Okay? Go find us somewhere and follow us and let people know. And we'll continue to bring this type of programming, right? Nobody's got a former NFL head coach on their pregame show, right? We have that. Why? Because I'm determined to put together 3 hours of compelling and entertaining sports for you, right? It's my goal is to get back into doing this type of work, doing it with people that I respect and enjoy and I've worked with, and hopefully you like it. And tonight has been great. Jick Jack Johnson, I want to thank him. I really think a lot of people have been sticking around because of Jick Jack. What a super guy and so knowledgeable. Go check him out on X at Jick Jack Johnson, JICGJAC, Jick Jack Johnson. We're just about at 2,700. I just want to see one more person get on there. Great
We're
show
actually
tonight.
27-14.
Oh, wow. Look at that. I mean, thank you to everybody who's been participating and watching tonight. Make this a part of your routine. If you're a Steelers fan especially, we're going to grow this. It's going to get bigger. Our post-game shows will be 2 hours. Once we get to 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games, full 2 hour post-game. John Fedko, Jerry DePaula. We're working on getting post-game sound from the locker room. All of this is achievable if we put a plan in place. And I put a plan in place, and we're getting there. And tonight has just been spectacular. I can't even believe how great the response has been this evening, especially on X, that folks are finding us. Our next broadcast will be immediately following Steelers and Bengals. You want to come back for an hour of post-game show? We'd love to have you. If not, we will be back with another live broadcast on, I believe it's the 26th.
Yeah.
Sunday the 26th.
It's a Sunday night game.
It's a Sunday night game. Steelers at home against Green Bay. We'll be on the air again at 5 o'clock. We'll have all of this on our social media pages on X, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and, of course, on TikTok as well at Steel City Sunday. Wherever you find your Steelers news or your NFL coverage, we're going to be there. We'll try to put more content out. We're going to try to put some more evening programming together. Hopefully you'll enjoy that, and we'll continue to do that because I think it's important. And there's a market out there for it. If tonight proved anything, there's a market out there for a show like ours and programming like this. Any last thoughts, Bill Akins?
No, I think it's I think it's going to be a good game. I agree with Paul. I mean, you gotta give Cincinnati a long field each of their possessions. And Joe Flacco, I mean, he gets rid of the ball quick, but I think he's a statue back there. If you put some pressure on him and knock him on his duff, he's just like any other quarterback. So. Yeah, I think I'm going to say 28-17 Steelers.
I'm going to say 27-20 Steelers. They're going to get the victory in Cincinnati. For our entire cast and crew, we want to say thank you for checking out our show tonight. Again, many thanks to the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. Many thanks to Arch Masonry and Restoration for sponsoring our shows. Brick masons, block masons, concrete finishers, construction laborers. If you're looking for work, archmasonryinc.com. Or call them at 412-564-5733. No experience, no problem. they can help train you and get you into a building trades career. Until the post game in about 4 hours time, 3.5 hours time, I'm John Phillips. Thanks for checking us out this evening, making us a part of your pregame coverage. This is Steel City Sunday here on X, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Stay tuned, Steelers and Bengals, 8:15 p.m. from Paycor Stadium on Amazon Prime, and locally on WTAE TV Channel 4. We'll talk to you in the postgame, folks. Good night.